and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some Redwall today, and I'm so excited because I love this game so much. Could you please check out all the links that are coming up in chat now? If you want to find us, you can find our Discord, YouTube, merch, all the shenanigans, you can find it over there. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm and Mage. I'm sorry if my light changes, my cat is currently attacking the curtains. Mage Hand Press and also Bird in the Storm. So until then, I will hand over to the very lovely Rachel. Here you go.
Thank you so much, Alice, as always. Welcome everyone to Chapter 3 of Heroes of Redwall, The Way Home. At the end of last episode, our party found itself somewhat between a rock and a hard place. Behind you and towards the seashore lay the enormous horde of hundreds upon hundreds of tents belonging to a massive war party belonging to all sorts of very barbaric looking beasts. You had managed to skirt around the outside. You were spotted by a scouting party, but thankfully you were able to dispatch of them fairly quickly, although you did sustain some injuries whilst doing so. And by the time you were all collecting yourself and found somewhere safe to bunk down for the night and get some sleep, you awoke after some rather peculiar dreams as you slowly find that some of your lost memories are filtering back to you. You awaken to cold steel pressed against your nose tips as you are surrounded by a score of 20 fighting hares armed to the teeth. However, before we jump in, I would like everyone to quickly introduce who they are and who they will be playing tonight, starting with the wonderful Alice to my right, who I'm sure you all know and love very well.
Oh, hi, I'm Alice, and I'm playing Holt Bartuk, who is a massive otter. He's not highly intelligent, he's not good at a lot of things, but he's a good bag carrier, and he's just happy to be here.
It's very true. Next up, the indomitable Asher, the badger companion.
Hi everyone, I'm Derek Sword. Yes, I am playing Asher. He is an even larger than Holt Badger. He is the oldest one of the group. He's seen some things, some stuff too. Doesn't really remember it all, but he knows that he's there to make sure that everybody else can tough it through and survive to get the answers that they need. So he's a little shocked to be waking up with a sword pointed at his nose. I think that's not unfair.
Not unfair at all. And last but certainly not least, our wonderful resident hedgehog lady, Anastasia Tiddywinkle.
Hello, I am Angelique, Geek Girl Bookworm everywhere online. Hello. I will be playing the Lady Anastasia Tiddywinkle. She is, in her own mind, a incredibly well-bred and noble hedgehog. Very small, so teeny tiny, especially in comparison to her two companions today. She is, she's not posh, but she thinks she definitely is posh and refuses to acknowledge otherwise. She is very glad to have her bag handler and bodyguard with her. And yes, she had a very strange dream and is super confused, but isn't going to mention it because that's not ladylike.
Absolutely. So, as we jump into this evening's episode, the four of you, because there are four of you, the last member of your party, a small velvety black mole named Gruber, is still fast asleep. You think perhaps through this travel through the swamps and the various unpleasant terrains upon which you have had to travel, perhaps Gruber has caught a little bit of a fever or a cold because they seem to be really needing their sleep right now and haven't. They're also very, very soft looking, so haven't been subjected to the same sword point as the rest of you. So as you look up, Asher in particular, look up this long, very well-maintained looking silver saber, which is gripped by the paw of a athletic-looking hare who is wearing all the livery and medals of a captain. She is dressed in deep blue uniform with silver trim and has a very severe expression on her face. Her very, very long hair ears are almost kind of flattened backwards from her head as she cuts a very sharp figure. As she says, "My name is Captain Fritillary Fabia McFieldstrider. Who in this bally swamp are you?"
Well, the sword's a bit unnecessary. I'm Asher. As far as the rest of the titles, I don't know any at this point, but it's potentially nice to meet you.
I'm Holt. Just Holt. It's fine, Miss Captain.
You also have a hair with a blade kind of pointed at you. You're all kind of marked.
I don't think the swords are really necessary. We were asleep. Let's just put the sword down a little bit. My name is Lady Anastasia Tiddlywinkle. No doubt you've heard of me. It is a pleasure to meet you, Captain McPhilstrides. And yes, swords are unnecessary. As you can see, we were just sleeping.
The captain looks around at you, Anastasia, and you hear her say, "A lady, eh? Well, we of the Long Patrol only recognize one lady, and I'm afraid you are not she. I want to ask you again, what are you all doing in this swamp, what?"
Lost a little bit.
Lost and trying to find our way. I believe Salamandastron is our intended goal.
You see,
but,
as you say that, you see a lot of the other hares kind of catch each other in the eye, and their ears kind of twitch as you say this.
Are you from there?
Aye, we might be. How do we know you aren't spies, enemies, perhaps, phobeasts from the great horde in front of us? You are camping right on its periphery. You could be anyone.
And Holt sort of holds out his arm, his shoulder that winces. Is like, look, they attacked us, mate.
Roll a persuasion check.
Persuasion.
The rest of you can try and help if you like.
I'd like to show my garden shears / sword. If we were part of the army, we'd have better weapons.
You both can add half of your persuasion rank for the assist action to Holt's roll.
Yeah, because as I say, there's also a rat tied up to a tree about a few hours back that would attest to the fact that we are not friendly to the horde that we are clearly hiding from.
You see, again, the captain narrows her eyes and motions for one of her compatriots to go and scout and investigate if what you say is true. One of the slightly smaller hares, but who looks very, very lean and quick, dashes off into the swamp to go and investigate.
When you say add half, we round up or down?
I believe... That's an excellent point. I'm going to say round down because that's how most tabletops go for it. Okay. So Holt, the captain turns to fix you with these very sharp, dark brown eyes. I see. So your story, let me get this right, is you are making your way towards Salamandastron. You were waylaid by the enemy and engaged with them in combat and survived, and they haven't sent any more after you. You haven't been followed. You were just sleeping in a swamp.
Well,
as far as we know, we weren't followed.
The thing is, and Holt tries to shuffle himself up just a little bit, whilst he's lying down, sort of moves the blade out of his way just a little bit. He's like, actually, from the beginning, because that might make more sense, we landed on a beach, woke up, there was a rat. Don't know how we got there. We went for a walk. We had tea with a couple of wonderful hedgehogs, which were great. They were really, really good. Weren't they? It sort of looks over to the others.
You kind of hear a few of the hares kind of talk to you, oh yeah, I think I know. I think I know those hares. Their food's great.
Yes, and it's just sort of then we tried to avoid. We realised we had to go to Salamandastron, and he starts to ramble, and he's like, and then we saw the army. We did debate going to say hi and see what they had, but then we thought, skirt around the edges a little bit, and then we went into the forest, tried to avoid them. We accidentally split up. Got attacked. Then we were fine. Got attacked again. But it's all right because we buried the bodies in the swamp and you'll recognise the other ones. He's got a bag over his head.
She nods very slowly, trying to process everything you just said, because it was a lot.
Yeah, he's like his nervous, like, chatter.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, the hedgehogs did say that we should give you food, so we have food for you.
As soon as you say that, at least half of this score of 20 hares, the ears just shoot bolt upright and say, "Did you say food?" And then another one kind of chimes in and says, "They said they've got scoff." And then they all start to kind of crowd in a little bit closer until the captain puts up a paw and says, "Stand your ground, Long Patrol." And they start to back off a little bit. Now.
Rachel, could you say that what I said was hair raising?
Wow.
It's okay. I sorry everybody. I won't be back next week.
Well, Asher might not be. The captain takes a breath. Look, you convinced me that you're not spies. However, I do not fully trust you yet. As for you, and she motions towards Asher, a fully grown badger in this part could be a threat against the Lady of the Mountain. And as she's kind of saying this, a smaller hare from the back of the rank, who is dressed in the livery of a private rather than a captain or a sergeant, kind of puts up a paw tentatively. And Captain Fruita kind of looks around and said, "Yes, Swiftpaw, what is it?" And she pipes up kind of a little bit nervously. "Excuse me, Mom, not wishing to butt in on your lovely conversation, but ain't that big badger over there a bit familiar?" And you see this young hare pointing towards Asher, and her ears are kind of twitching, and she's kind of twiddling her thumbs a little bit awkwardly. "Well, it's just he looks a jolly lot like our young Lord Ashfell, don't you know?" The captain looks at Asher with narrowed eyes for a few more moments. "Back into line, Swiftpaw. If what you say is true, we have either an imposter or a very lost badger in our hands, what? But we haven't got time to go rushing back to Salamanderstrong with a pack of suspicious mud-soaked beasts tonight. We have a mission to complete, remember?" Do any of you say anything?
I'm sorry, Asher's a prince, did you just say? No, he's a bodyguard. You've got that very confused. He is my bodyguard.
The hares largely ignore you as you say this, and you notice that quite a lot of them are kind of speaking to each other in hushed tones, and the captain seems to be thinking for the moment. Holt, Asher, do you have anything you'd like to do?
Holt looks over towards Asher after this, almost like a side glance. And again, still not taking his eyes off this blade, shuffles like towards him. And he's like, "Am I supposed to bow to you then?"
I don't know. To be honest, and I always appreciate honesty in return, I don't know if I'm a lord or a bodyguard or a gardener. I don't know. I know that I don't know a lot, and that's all I know. If that makes any sense. I don't have the memories I think I should. I might be who you're talking about. I might be an imposter. I can't tell you one way or another, but I can tell you that if your intentions are to help others and protect those that are weaker, then you and I have a lot in common.
The captain considers these words, and she slowly lowers the saber and motions for the other hares with their weapons drawn to do the same. "We will test to see if you are truly honorable beasts. We're not just here to take stock of the warhorde, you see. We are here to rescue a scout of the Long Patrol who was captured by the enemy a day before. They could be torturing the poor soul for information, or possibly worse, what? But we're here to get him back. If you accompany us, you assist us on this task, then that will prove to me your good intentions far better than any words you might be able to give me. If you can do that, we will escort you personally back to Salamanderstron, and you will receive a hero's welcome for your good deeds. And once we return to the mountain, we will also be able to determine if your story is true. If it is not, I would gird your gizzard for the wrath of the Lady of the Mountain.
That sounds incredibly transactional. Consider our gizzards guarded.
Yes, whatever they are.
Holt's just nodding.
So the captain
I think it's that part of your, it's like the back of your elbow. I think that's a gizzard.
Put them close to my guarded.
So the captain turns away from you and looks back at the score of hares behind her. Righto, chaps and chapesses, organise yourselves into 5 strike teams. I will be accompanying our new associates here. And with that, she sharply taps the nearest one to her, which is Asher. She kind of taps you with the butt end of her saber to make her intentions clear. Split up and do not engage the enemy unless you must. This is a rescue mission, what? Not a raid. If you find no sign of Hathington within the hour, you are to return to Salamanderstron without delay. Am I understood? You hear a chorus of, yes, sirree, Mom!
Oh, yes, sirree, Mom. Yes.
Good. Then you have your orders. Move out. And the other hares scatter like shadows into the dark trees. As the light of dawn is still a little way off, you kind of get the impression you're woken with an hour or 2 to go until dawn properly breaks. And you are left with the 4 of you. Gruber still snuggled and curled up in this kind of sling that Holtz made for them the day before. And the Captain Fritillary Fabia Muckfield Strider.
So, Captain, what would you wish of us?
Well, firstly, before we proceed any further, it would be advantageous if I was to have an idea of your individual skills, your combat training, perhaps any war experience you might have.
I once killed a toad, and I have a very stern voice, which can sometimes frighten enemies, not always, but sometimes. If not, it does confuse people. I'm very good at the needlework, and so I'm able to sew up wounds, possibly, and I am, believe it or not, quite charming.
I see. So we have a charming, intimidating medic slash, if you pardon the pun, slash swordswoman at our side. That's very useful. Yourself, big otter over there.
Oh, that's me. And he sort of like steps forward, sort of puffs his chest out a little bit as he realizes he's addressing the captain. So, I ain't done much. To be honest, I can't remember much before rocking up on a beach the other day. But I have learned I'm good with a stick.
Right. Very strong upper body.
Well,
and he sort of shuffles his shoulders back a little bit, quite happy about that.
I'll never begrudge a river dog in my ranks. You're all sturdy folk. And you, what do you go by? If you do not recognize the name that my comrade issued, what can I call you until we have determined your true identity?
Well, as the altar indicated, we woke up on a beach, and the name that I remember is Asher, which, to be fair, is suspiciously close to, is it Asherfield, you said?
Ashfell.
Ashfell, okay. Yeah, close enough, I suppose. But yeah, call me Asher for the time being until we can solve our problems. I know that I've seen combat, and he kind of addresses the scars on the left side of his face, and I've got the proof there. I know that I'm particular to carrying a shield and something else. I have a battle axe now, and that serves me fine, but always on the lookout for something better. This came off of a couple of cutthroats, so I don't exactly trust its durability.
I see. So we have a A versatile fighter. Well, that's always useful. So, how are the three of you? I get the impression your mole companion is not at the moment in a condition to fight.
Oh, he's napping.
He has an axe just in case, but yeah, he's very sleepy.
Do we have the means to transport said mole or protect them? What?
Yeah. And he sort of like shuffles the sling.
Quite inventive. Right, I'll give you that. How about your skills in espionage, stealth, remaining undercover?
Well, unfortunately, that was the mole's strong suit, but yes, the lady is quite skilled as well.
I can stealth, I can seduce, I can do a little bit of thievery. What? No, I don't steal anything. How rude of you all.
I see. So, a rogue as well as a fighter. And a medic. You have a diverse list of skills. Anastasia,
Well, she's
was it?
truly terrifying.
I've known many terrifying hedgehogs in my time. So, I believe the element of surprise is going to be our companion here. We are going to have to sneak up on the camp carefully, stealthily, investigate, see if we can find if Haffington is in the vicinity. We do not want to have to make our way too deep into the horde. That would only make our escape more difficult, as Haffington is likely to be injured and unable to engage himself. I suggest we make our way carefully to the edge of the camp and begin our scouting there. Now, I do need you to both tell me now if it's going to be an issue, because you are quite large beasts. Is remaining hidden going to be an issue?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It has been up to this point, unfortunately.
I see. All right, then, in which case I have an alternative means, if you are interested in considering it.
Certainly.
Well, yourself there, Riverdog. You're a big and strong Riverdog, but I think we could potentially get you to pass as a ferret, perhaps. Kind of paint some marks on your face, kind of maybe rag up those clothes a little bit. You might just be able to walk amongst the camp if you can put on a good ruffian voice for us.
And he sort of clears his throat. He doesn't really say anything, but he looks down at his waistcoat. He's like, we can't rough this up. I'm happy to put something else on.
Of course, if it is valuable to you, then by all means store it away safely. And you said you took out some, some rats earlier this evening? Did they have any vestments on them that you could purloin?
And Holt thinks about that chainmail that goes up to like
his crop top chainmail.
His crop top chainmail is like, yeah, no, I've got some in.
The ideal. Poorly fitting, just like most horde armor I've seen. As for you, Badger, that would be a bit more tricky. Not a lot passes for a Badger. We might just have to hope you can be as stealthy as possible. And if not, you're just going to have to... If not, you're just going to have to bust us out of the camp, I'm afraid.
Well, I can do that, yeah.
Excellent. Well, there's some of my suggestions. I'm going to let you three lead the way if I am to accurately judge your trustworthiness and natures as honorable beasts. I would like to see how you perform. So, the mission is all yours. I'll be here to back you up should we get into any sticky situations.
Right. And he sort of reaches down, and if there's any mud, he just starts like rubbing it over his face. Like, you see him very carefully, like, around. He does put the chainmail over the waistcoat. It's actually probably about the same length because of how tiny this waistcoat is on him.
Yeah.
Sort of, like, takes his scarf off and sort of almost not tears it, but again puts it in the mud and rubs it against like the moss and any sort of dirt he finds, and just starts rubbing himself with it and then tying it round almost like a sash. He's like, do I look like one?
I mean, you look like a ferret that could have fallen in a swamp.
And it's dark still. The sun hasn't come up yet.
It's working then.
One thing, however, I think the mole might be an indicator. I can carry him for the time being.
Yeah, why not?
Put him
Sort
on
of hands this
back.
morning.
Slings the mole over her shoulder. I think that's perfect.
Holt sort of stands there with his little paws on his waist, sort of almost admiring his handiwork. It's probably not very good, but he's pretty proud of it.
Roll a... Let's see. Let's have a quick look. Hang on.
Crafting.
Yeah, I think craft is the most appropriate. If you roll a craft check. A lady of Anastasia, you can help if you would like to.
Yeah, I shall assist.
I look like an otter in the mud, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally look like an otter in the mud.
Alright, so Anastasia, you kind of look critically at this kind of ferret disguise. It does just look like a very muddy otter. So you, maybe not with your bare hands, maybe you find like a sluggy kind of stick or something so you don't have to touch the mud. You are able to kind of sort of make some kind of stripe shape markings or body markings that are a bit more reminiscent of a ferret's.
He stands there, arms out, just lets you do it.
I'll just use Gruber's hands.
Yeah. Like, this morning's gonna wake up so confused.
Very likely.
Very soft. It's like a paintbrush.
Yeah,
It's using all of Gruber. Just
Oh dear. But yes, you are now a more passable ferret, you think. And it is up to you. The captain, who says that you may address her as Captain Frita, if you wish, as it's a little bit quicker to say in battlefield circumstances, gives you lead the way towards the camp. She does also describe the captive that you're looking for. He is a young hare, only recently drafted into the Long Patrol. He is a scout, so he's very kind of quick, and usually is there to gather information, but unfortunately must have been a target of an ambush, because usually their scouts are far too well trained to be caught by the likes of these ruffians. And knowing that these sorts of creatures will likely be held captive somewhere on the outskirts of the camp, not close to the center where the upper ranking members of the enemy would be based, so you wouldn't overhear anything, but most likely in one of the kind of fringe parts of the camp.
Alice, does Holt have anything besides the stick? Did he pick up any other weapons?
He does have like a short bow, and I think it was
Okay.
Let's see, straight away something like 5 arrows, something like that.
Yeah, I think I had about 5 or 6
It was
arrows.
5 arrows, yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Cool.
He's still got that strapped across his back. He's just like marching his way. He now thinks he's invincible because, you know, he looks like a ferret now, so it doesn't matter. And he's sort of striding forwards to see if he can get like a bit of a look, like a good look around.
Okay, so you reckon that you are about a 10-minute, quarter of an hour walk from the very, very, very edge of the camp itself. And so you can get close enough to try and make an awareness check without having to yet potentially be noticed, if you would like.
Yeah, I'll make an awareness check. Oh, if I can spell. It's all or nothing with Holt, I swear.
So you kind of squint towards the camp, but maybe it's because it's still about 4 or 5 a.m. It's very dark. there's that kind of haze, that misty haze that's risen up from the swamp. So you can't quite make anything out yet. It does look like the camp is very dormant. You cannot see much movement at all, but you can't see much else.
And he's sort of like, he's now down on all fours, squinting to try and have a look. And he stays there for a while, like his nose is twitching. It's just it looks like he's really focusing. But he turns back, he's like, I got nothing.
The captain rolls her eyes.
And he keeps walking. He probably doesn't even notice her roll her eyes.
I think Asher, while they're kind of moving along, is going to he's going to use his tracking, which isn't incredible, but he's going to see if there's like maybe drag marks or anything like that that would indicate someone being maybe carried in.
Okay, make a roll for me.
Okay, so that's...
Oh boy, that's a really good roll. That's a 15. So with a 15, you are looking about for some time. Do you, by the way, as you're kind of examining and looking around, do you let Holt kind of just march off into the camp ahead of you guys?
I think Holt said that he was down on all fours. I'm at least going to kind of hold on to the tail a little bit until we're...
So you're holding
we have to separate.
Tail as this otter is just like, hey.
He thinks he looks like
we're all together. Just a massive ferret. Big for otters, and then yeah,
even bigger for a ferret.
Yeah. So as you are holding a Holt with one massive badger paw, and with your other, you're kind of looking over the tracks. You're trying to find kind of signs of people who've come back to the camp, and you don't find anything at first. But as you start to kind of skirt around the edges of the camp itself, and you're probably doing this following various tracks, you're looking for the drag marks. You kind of know what you're looking for, and you're doing this for about near approaching 20 minutes, whilst Captain Frita is kind of backing up your small little squad, and she is watching your flank. She's making sure nothing is approaching, and she's just keeping an eye on your backs, basically. But after about 20 minutes of this skirting around the very edges of this camp, you do find what less of a drag mark, because all of the mud around here is kind of wet to the point that it loses a little of structure after a little while. But you do find what looks like trampled kind of swamp grass and ferns that have been snapped and bent the wrong way by the look of something probably about the same size as the captain that has been dragged through.
He's going to very silently redirect Holt's attention and try to illustrate the line. So this is what you need to follow. Hey, you see the line being dragged through the grass?
He sort of has a look, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, thanks, mate." Like gives him like a bit of a pat and then starts following the line.
Right, so you start following this line towards the camp, and this is the point where those of you who wish to remain hidden need to start rolling stealth checks for me.
I think he'll try to remain hidden at first, but he's not.
Oh my god.
He's just singing to himself again.
He's like trying to sneak, but like dun, 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 dun. Like,
Oh, I'm a ferret. Oh, I'm a ferret.
So, whilst, in fact, it almost helps the rest of you, this ferret is just swaggering into this camp, singing a little song, having a little swish of the hips as he makes his way into the camp. And this definitely draws any attention away from the rest of you as you kind of spirit your way quietly around the edges of tents, keeping to the darkest shadows and kind of keeping a little distance from this otter ferret, but keeping them in your sights as you slowly make your way into this camp. Holt, as you happily wander into the camp, you see finally kind of the interior of this war horde. From here, you can see a bit more detail of the construction of these tents. They look to have been made from some kind of hide, although a lot of it is incredibly thick-looking hide. Some of it has like a very fine but very dense-looking fur to it, which, if anything, is slightly worryingly similar to your own fur. It's a lot thicker, the actual skins, but has that similar very, very, very dense undercoat that a lot of water-going mammals will have. Some of the skins the tents are made out of are completely different. They have these sharp, almost tooth-like scales all over them, and they're all kind of tied together with this hemp rope and sinew kind of cords. All of them look very patched up, pretty old, well used, and definitely quite dirty. They've been here for a while, on the edge of the swamp, through good and bad weather. And you can see a lot of the grass and ferns around these tents, and that's kind of crushed under them is yellowing and going kind of a little bit dead, as it's trampled underfoot many, many times a day. You don't see many beasts awake. Thankfully, you seem to have struck at a time where a lot of the horde beasts are trying to snatch as many hours of sleep as they possibly can. However, you do walk past a pair of stoats who look like they should be on watch. However, they were both very asleep when you passed. However, again, your very noticeable, I don't know if you're whistling to yourself at this point, or maybe your big otter paws are just making very loud squelches into the mud as you're walking into the camp.
His tail probably accidentally hooks something and knocks it over or something.
Yeah, so as you're making your way in, your tail accidentally bats into a cooking tripod, this kind of iron tripod with a battered looking dish that was over the embers of a dead fire, and it just clatters over, and both of the stoats instantly kind of wake up and blink looking at you, and they both level these nasty looking pole axes towards you, like, Bolt, who goes there?
He's so close to going, yeah, that's me. But he sort of pauses, and he's looking wide-eyed at them, suddenly realizing, because he was taking everything in, he almost reached out and touched like the furs of this tent and recoiled. And as he noticed he heard that clank, he just very slowly, he straightens up a bit more, and he sort of like gives himself a moment, curls back one of his lips to try and show off some teeth, and just turns round with a mildly like winking eye.
All right. Take I guess this is intimidate, which comes under persuasion. You can have an extra dice because of your cunning disguise.
Okay. So that's a 3. Okay. Hang on. So I've already got 3, so I get an extra die for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He cannot look scared.
One of the stoats comes up close to you and puts this very scarred face right up to you and goes, "Something wrong with your face?"
And Holt looks mildly taken aback for a moment, because he's never been spoken to like that before. Sort of stretches up because he knows he's big, and leans right over and just stares and makes eye contact.
All right. I was just making an observation. I think I've seen you come through the east exit to camp. What are you doing down here? Surely you meant to be up with the rest of the ferrets up in the north side?
And again, he pauses.
Through the swamp. You're looking, well, for one start, you smell awful.
He just nods because he does fully agree that he does smell awful, and he's like, "I didn't see you come through the gate either."
And the other stoat kind of laughs at that. "He's got you there, Ribtail. He didn't see you come through the gate." And then Ribtail kind of kind of bats a paw and says, "Shut up. I'm trying to interrogate someone here. I don't get to do it very often."
Interrogate? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I've seen you around here. And, you know, those stinking ferrets, you know, having it all up, living it all up near the north side of town. We're stuck down here in the bog and the swamp.
You're interrogating me? And he sort of looks confused. He's like, so you're stopping me doing my business?
What is your business? Why are you down here?
I'm patrolling looking for people slacking.
As soon as you say that, they both immediately like straighten up. Well, there's no slacking going on down here. No slacking. We got our eyes out. We are alert to every sound and noise this forsaken swamp makes.
And Holt doesn't look fully confident, but he's trying to use his size as an aid, and he's like, "I saw you snoozing."
No, we definitely weren't snoozing. It was a cunning ruse to make you
liar.
And you see the composure of this individual start to waver a little bit. Make another persuasion check for me.
Is that with the added?
That's still with the added.
Okay, come on.
Against his intrigue defense. Oh boy!
Finally.
The stoat kind of at this. You see the long kind of life kind of form of this stoat crumple a little bit. Because no, I wasn't calling you a liar. I'm sorry. By all means, go through the camp. Try not to wake anyone else up, I guess. You won't report this, will you?
Wake anyone else up, so you were snoozing?
Well, you just told me not to lie to you.
Good. That was a test. And he sort of can't help but give him like a really firm pat on the head. Sort of reaches out.
It's very confused. The other one is like a weird mixture of really nervous and trying not to laugh.
Now, I won't tell no one, but I need you to not tell anyone you've seen me either, because I need to catch people out like you. But I'll let you off this time.
All right. So we're kind of like your work partners.
Yeah.
You'll put in a good word for us with command.
Of course I will.
Oh, good.
You've behaved admirably, and you have told me the truth. He's sort of like he's gesturing now, and he doesn't know what to do with his arm.
Well, that's good. That's great. We'll continue to do a good job, and you're welcome to come through the east gate whenever you like.
Well, thank you very much. And he sort of straightens up and shuffles away, like still watching them as he goes, but he does shuffle.
Oh, Ferret.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Holt. He doesn't even think.
And as you kind of make your way into the camp, you kind of hear behind you this conversing. It's an odd name for a ferret.
He doesn't think. He just goes.
And thankfully, due to that small distraction, the rest of you are able to infiltrate the camp without any of these now awake but thoroughly won over guards noticing you. And you are now
much better than I expected, Asher. Going to be honest, thought we were done for, but I'm impressed.
That was incredibly impressive.
And Hope does not know he's done it.
I think we may have
didn't stick the landing, but a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
all right. You are now within the interior of this mostly dormant warhorde camp, and could I have everyone? By the way, are you kind of gathering back together, or is Holt still kind of out in the middle of things, but kind of the rest of you giving a bit of space between you.
I think Holt would probably keep his distance just so that if he could distract, he could pull the look away from people. And he's a little bit interested now. He's having a look around, so not touching anything, but he's just like having a look.
All right, could everyone make awareness checks, please?
Oh my god.
Oh dear. I love your rolls, Alice.
Try so hard.
Okay, so Holt, you are, hands on hips, you are surveying this kingdom you have now ingratiated yourself into. You notice a few kind of spits over old fires, pots and pans, all very bruised. You see, again, more of these tents with the strange-looking hides. And you don't really see a lot else. You do see around the embers of a few fires that have definitely gone out now. You do see a few beasts are slumbering out in the open rather than inside the tents. They look like they might just have dropped to sleep, and you can just about see tankards, very battered tankards that have just been knocked over. And there is this, even with that roll, there is this very acrid smell that kind of assaults your nostrils, and it smells quite like some kind of strong alcoholic scent as well that has soaked into the ground in a few places around some of these fires. The rest of you, however, you see all that and a little bit more. You are casting around, staying low, staying to the shadows, as Holt certainly draws a lot of attention, and you see everything that Holt sees, but you also see far off in a westerly direction, so from what you assume to be probably the center of the camp, you can see a few lights of what must be fires that are still alight. So you presume that there must be beasts awake, perhaps some of the more senior officers in the center, as Captain Frita did describe, that they would mostly be concentrated towards the centers. You hear a lot of snoring, a lot of very bad snoring from all around you. Could you make another survival check for me, please?
Certainly. 11.
Okay. Thankfully, with your good awareness roll, you've just about been able to keep track of the drag marks as they have led into the camp. And you can see that they do lead a little bit further, kind of swinging a little bit around to the north side of the camp. But the signs are still there. The trampled and choked looking plants that have definitely been stepped on by countless other beasts. You can kind of see the direction they've been snapped as something's been dragged over the top of them, and you are able to follow that for a little longer.
Okay.
Would you like to carry on moving through the camp?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Asher's at least trying to stick to the shadows.
Yeah. And as you do so, could everyone please make another stealth check? Now you are properly surrounded by tents, as you are probably a good 20 minutes, half an hour investigation into this camp. So you are, again, Asher and oh my goodness, it's Anastasia, are making your way quietly. You're being very careful. You're tiptoeing over tent pegs. You are stepping carefully if there is a sleeping creature that's passed out on the grass. Holt, you're pretty confident now. You breezed it past those first idiots. You are striding through the camp. This is your territory. And it's about 20 minutes after you first made your way into the camp now, as your footpaw catches on something and you trip, and you're basically sprawled onto your paws as you see that you've tripped over a very Weasley-looking rat who kind of snorts and then, "Oh, you tripped over my face!"
And Holt, sort of laying on the floor, starts to get up and pushes himself again upright. Apologies, mate.
"Oh, apologize to this," and he swings like a paw in your direction. Having only just been shaken awake, it's not a particularly good paw, but he's going to try and catch it nonetheless.
Asher, I think we spoke too soon. Jinxed it.
Would 8 normally beat your combat defense?
I don't think it does. Hang on. It's just go to my other page. No.
What is your combat defense out of interest?
12.
All right, so that has been reduced by an amount, depending on that chain shirt that you put on.
Oh yes, because it was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It gives you a -3 to your combat defense, but that's still, not enough to hit you.
Yeah. Can I just try and catch his fist and lift him up?
Yeah, make an athletics check for me.
Okay, that I can do. Hang on.
Right, so how many of those are bonus? Or are those all normal ranks? Oh boy. All right, so you catch the fist of this rat, and with your other hand, you just lift him off the ground above you, and it kind of starts kind of squeaking, goes, all right, it's fine, I could be a doormat. Do you want me to lie down on my face? You can step on me again if you like.
He sort of looks at him. It's not like he's grabbed him in a harsh way. He's like, "You're gonna wake people up."
You do see a few other creatures around this, what was left of this particular fire, starting to blink. Oh, what's going on?
And he's sort of like, "See, look at you. You're waking people up."
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Please put me down.
Like, he just covers his whole face and it puts him back down out of the walkway. Like, he's just, "Don't sleep in the walkway, mate. It's how you get your face trodden on." And just pushes him down onto the floor.
He just kind of snivels a little bit as you put him down.
And puts something over him, as if he's tucking him in. So it's
oh dear. And as you do so, the other beasts kind of look up, and you see one or two are awake enough to kind of see what's going on. Are like, what in the dark forest are you doing?
And he puts his finger to his lips. He's like, "I trod on his face," and starts walking towards them if he has to, but only if they stir.
You see one of them just goes, "Oh, just go back to bed." The other one stifles a chuckle and goes, "Oh, poor it coming," and then goes back to sleep.
And I sort of, if I can see the others, I look over and keep doing what he thinks is sneaking. It's like an actual creep, but it's not really doing much. He's trying
Kronk over there.
That's what he is.
To be fair, I think Grok might have just done an intimidate and just shaken him. "You're having a nightmare. Go back to sleep."
Yeah, it's not real.
So you managed to dissolve the situation. Diffuse the situation, that's the wrong term. Anyway, you managed to diffuse the situation and make your unsubtle way through the camp. However, you have dealt with that one potential expose. And as far as you can tell, your companions haven't been spotted. Indeed, Asher, you follow the drag marks until you eventually reach what looks like a large... and a lot of these are shaped like they're kind of fairly scrappy-looking lean-to style tents, but the drag marks lead to what appears to be a big bell tent, which has been constructed, again, of this weird mishmash of different hides. A lot of the strange-looking dense furry hide has been used on this one. And you can see there is only one entrance, but there is a very awake looking squirrel, this time guard, standing outside with this kind of long, dark greyish furry tail kind of to attention behind it. And this grey squirrel looks to be fairly aware and kind of keeping an eye on the surroundings, perhaps a slightly more competent beast that's been posted here.
Now, Rachel, real quick, just kind of story question.
Yeah.
In the world of Redwall, is like the use of hides like considered especially like barbaric because it's
So
kind of like other sentient folk?
yeah, so you know that as a general rule, it's not really used as a material. You've known that insect kind of chitin and that kind of material is used. And you know that things like fish skin and fish aren't really considered to have intelligence, and other kind of sea beasts of that nature. So fish bones and skin, and unlike badgers as well, the idea of eating fish is also fine. You know that otters love eating fish and shrimp. That's just kind of an accepted thing. Feathers you often see as well, materials that are used. Birds are a bit more of a grey area. They definitely possess intelligence, but they don't really. They're a lot more. They're a lot more kind of nomadic and have their own kind of ways of governing themselves. They don't tend to interact with the forest creatures quite so much. However,
sure, you can get feathers without a bird
exactly,
dying.
yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
You don't have to hurt a bird to actually gather like fallen feathers and stuff.
Sure.
Eating eggs is a bit is something that most mammals don't really do. It's deemed very, well, as you'd imagine, very, very impolite because, you know, these did belong to a bird. So that's not something that's really done. However, the use of hides that are of mammal origin or reptile origin is generally a no-no. You can see that this is definitely fur. Again, it's very thick. This coat is extremely dense, and you do not recognize the animal it comes from, unless you would like to make a nature check, which you can. And
yeah,
with
sure.
that, you can also potentially try and identify what the scaly hide has come from.
Yeah, because I think that Asher finds this particularly barbaric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you do notice, oh wow, that's a good roll. So 2 things you notice. The first thing, these hides are huge. Where the panels have been stitched together, where the pieces have been stitched together to create one piece of fabric, essentially, the individual kind of chunks are massive. These came from big beasts. And with that roll, you've heard tales at some point. Again, as you think of this, you're not quite sure where these thoughts come from, but you suddenly realize that you must have lived somewhere once with access to a vast library, or at least an impressive collection of stories, because you remember hearing of beasts far to the west, across the ocean, particularly in the north. And again, you're not sure where these stories come from in your memory, but you do remember someone telling you them. You remember hearing of beasts that live in kind of clans, these very intelligent, enormous creatures called seals. And the smallest seal would be the size of a badger, easily. And these creatures live on fish, and they're as at home in the ocean as they are on the land. And as far as you're aware, they're not antagonistic beasts. The way that what you remember you seem to hold them with a respect and reverence, anything you might have read or any stories you might have been told. And as far as you can tell, this very dense fur that's almost a bit similar to otter fur in the way that it would resist water, definitely it's the only thing that you can think of that could possibly this hide have belonged to. The other hide, on the other hand, is you kind of do you try and like touch it or anything? You're definitely close enough to attempt to be able to, if you wish.
Yeah, I think he's sticking close enough to the tents that he's almost kind of running his paw along as he moves.
So as you run your paw along the second, the scaly kind of hide, it's incredibly rough. so rough it feels like sandpaper to your paws. You could probably sharpen a weapon on this hide. And the scales are almost like tiny little teeth. They're so rough and sharp and incredibly tough. It would take quite some effort to try and punch a hole in this stuff. And it also has this faint, slightly unpleasant smell to it. And you are reminded, similarly to the seals, of reading sometime long before you lost your memory, of monsters, great, terrifying monsters, even to a badger like yourself. And these are more cautionary tales of the dangers of the ocean, of great flesh-eating fish-like monsters that stalk prey from miles away. They can sense a drop of blood and will come after you with these incredibly rough hides that are almost impervious to damage. But lo and behold, that's what seems to come to mind when you look at this material.
Okay. Well, all right, we're going to need a bigger badger. Okay. Sorry, everyone.
No, it's great. I love the puns.
No self-control. Okay.
Yeah, so
okay, cool.
You are observing this large bell tent with the squirrels posted outside, keeping an eye. And as far as you can tell, that's where the drag marks lead.
Holt, are you going to approach the squirrels, or?
So can I see them looking at this tent, sort of?
Roll an awareness check for me.
Come on, Holt, I believe in you. My God.
Okay, let's put it this way. Anastasia, Asher, and Captain Frita, they can all see Holt. Holt, you cannot see them.
Okay.
Alice, on the upside, you have rolled a 1, a 2, and a 3. You are getting better.
I'm getting there. Like, there's slow progress, but it is progress. Like, can I see that these squirrels are the ones that are awake?
Yes. So you can see that here there is only the one squirrel. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's got this this unpleasant-looking kind of saber that. Actually, now you look at it, is very, very similar to the design of Captain Frita's saber.
Oh, okay.
And he is standing guard outside this tent, and you can see that he is quite resplendently decorated. He's wearing these golden rings on his tail with the fur kind of poofing out between the rings. And he's got these big hooped gold earrings and these very brightly coloured striped shirt. Definitely looks a little bit higher up the pecking order than some of the beasts that you've passed on the outskirts of the camp.
Okay, I think Holt would look to him and probably make the assumption, because that he has a sword very much like the captain, that at least this squirrel would know where the person's being held, and sort of look around and not seeing Anastasia or his badger friend sort of strolls past, like, you know, like that sort of fake stroll past as if you're just gonna walk past, or strolls past this squirrel and then stops. So it's just like, it's a nice sword, mate.
The squirrel, who is staring straight ahead, like utter concentration, kind of shakes and looks at you and says, wow, cheers. It's pretty shiny sword, pretty good reward for guarding a prisoner.
Yeah?
He's pretty pleased with himself.
It's like, well, you deserve it, mate. It looks like you're doing well.
Oh, I never shirk my duty here, my friend. Gotta keep an eye on these dangerous hare folk. You never know what they're gonna do.
Have you seen any around?
I haven't seen any since we brought this one in. I mean, they said we had to watch out for more of them because they usually hunt in packs, is what I'm told. Vicious, savage creatures.
Yeah.
But I ain't seen hide nor hair of any of them awful lot all night, and it's almost light, and then I'll be off my shift.
Oh, that's great. I mean, like, have the interrogators been in yet?
Oh yeah, they came in, they roughed him up something proper. Didn't really get anything useful. Seems like a pretty tough nut to crack. I think the I think the boss wants to bring him with us when we move out at first light. Tell you, I'm not looking forward to that. I haven't even had a good night's sleep, and we've got to start marching at first light. I mean, it doesn't seem very fair to those of us who are on the lookout.
Well, if you're tired, mate, do you want me to take over? I had a nap earlier.
He kind of puts a little grey paw to his chin. It's tempting, you know. I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of shut-eye before we got to head off. It's going to be a long day's march. I know we're going through them forests as well, and so there's all number of savage beasts in them woods.
I'll bet.
Make a persuasion check.
And I look like a thing, don't I? So I get the. You
get the extra dice because you look like one of them, kind of.
Kind of. Half a die.
How do I get 11 on 4 die? Like, come on.
He says, "Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little too frightened of old Wargveer to abandon me post, even if it is going to be kept up by someone as big and strong as you look. But if you would like to join me, Cully, for this post, I definitely appreciate the company."
Why not? I can help you.
Yeah, they say that 4 eyes are better than 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, he's person like,
and you see that after he says this, he's also like,
yeah, they're both there, yeah, counting the eyes, like, yeah, no, that's great, mate. I mean, is it just you? Were you left all on your lonesome?
Oh, well, yeah, for now. I mean, there's a few more of the guys inside, aren't there? They're probably asleep though. They were on watch earlier this evening, so they went in the tent to have a snooze. Fair enough. But I can hear them. They're pretty loud snorers, if I'm honest. I bet that prisoner's getting no rest whatsoever.
Do you want me to go check on them if they're sleeping?
Oh yeah, by all means. I'll keep the watch out here.
Yeah. And he just sort of salutes and awkwardly goes in. Can I make one more awareness check just to see if you may see the others? Come on.
You can just about spot your companions kind of hiding behind tents, watching you awkwardly, just before you kind of enter the tent yourself.
Yeah, he sort of does like the it probably doesn't make sense, but he's going in.
All right. What are the rest of you doing?
I suppose if he's going in, then we should try and get in. If he's in that tent, maybe we can find another way into the tent.
I had the same thought. You do have that very nice new sword, and potentially we could cut our way in through the back.
Yep, as you
quietly
kind of see around the back, there don't seem to be any creatures with their eyes on the back of the tent.
I'm good at undoing stitches as I am doing the stitches in the first place.
Yeah. So, if you're going to try and cut your way into the tent, I will allow this to be a craft check, because I know that you're quite good at that.
I am quite crafty.
like needlework, but backwards.
Yeah. Picking stitches is hard.
Oh, I pressed ignore the 3. I meant to press a 1.
Okay.
The top one.
Oh, right. 6. Oof. So that's 21, I believe?
6 is 12. Yes.
Goodness gracious. Well, that is definitely
ladies' art. It's a ladies' art.
So, with complete silence and a ruthless efficiency, you see as Anastasia nicks each of these kind of roughly poorly done stitches that are holding these pieces of the tent together. And she nicks them just perfectly so that the structure of the tent isn't at all compromised, but there is now a perfect sized gap that even a large badger could get through. It doesn't even look aesthetically that bad. Tent doesn't really look any rougher than it did before you started.
Da-da! Like to just look in.
Okay, roll an awareness check for me.
And I have notice, so...
Oh, you do, don't you?
I keep pressing the wrong one. So it's the top, the 12. So.
Okay, 12 is pretty good. You can see Holt, who has just kind of marched through the front door to this tent. You also see 3 of the roughly dressed kind of warlike beasties. So they are all currently asleep. They're all just kind of splayed out on the floor, drooling slightly, snoring uproariously. You see a rat and a weasel and a stoat just all kind of laid out there, snoring, fast asleep. And then in the center of the tent, which is held up by this thick kind of pole, you see a young-looking hare. He can't be that many seasons into his adult life because he's quite a bit smaller than Captain Frita, who is kind of down on haunches behind you. His ears are kind of drooped down, and he looks like he's been kind of badly roughed up. There's a lot of you see quite a lot of crusted dried blood on his little brown fur, and his lovely little white tail has been all kind of scuffed up and bedraggled by mud. And you see what looks like a big swollen up black eye, and he looks to be kind of in a bit of a unconscious state as well.
I'd like to signal for Holt to halt.
Yeah, he just stops.
Because I
see
fear that his towel is going to whack some of the sleeping people.
Excellent point.
And I would like to try and sneak between them to the hare.
Okay, make a stealth check for me. Or, your option, you can also roll agility if you would like to.
They are one and the same.
Okay. Thankfully pretty good. You managed to not step on any of the sleeping creatures, and you carefully and with the grace of a dancer make your way over to the hare who is tied to the central pole. And you can see his face a little bit more closely now. He looks in a pretty bad way.
I'm going to put my hand over his mouth and then just tap him very gently on the face. Hello. When he wakes up, if he wakes up.
You tap for a little bit. It takes like a minute or two, and then his eyes slowly kind of flicker awake, and then instantly they snap open. And he goes,
I'm going to try and untie him.
Okay, make another craft check, because I'm going to say that the undoing ropes is again quite a fiddly procedure. It's enough though, as you carefully unpick this kind of vicious-looking knot, which has definitely chafed into this animal's kind of wrists as he's been tied to this post. And as soon as he's free, he kind of starts kind of massaging his paws, trying to get feeling back into them. Well, thank you.
Yes, we'll talk later. Get out the back.
Okay.
Come here, friend. Come on.
Okay.
At least open the flap and try to usher him towards me.
Okay. Holt, what are you doing?
He has been told to stand still. He is letting them, as soon as the hare's led out, that's when he'll do something. But he'll wait till the hare's...
Okay, so I'm going to need stealth checks from Anastasia and from Huffington.
Oh, that's not as good as it has been.
Not very good for him either. You make your way to the very edge of the tent, and just as you do so, one of your little spines, which was kind of glued back on by Asher with some of the swamp mud, the mud has kind of dried by now, and there's just like a little dink as it drops off and lands point first on top of the rear end of the rat as it's sleeping. And as soon as that happens, there is an almighty yelp from the rat as he bolts upright.
Nice.
What's everyone doing in this?
Can I just down sit on top of him, please? If that works.
Yes.
I don't know.
No, go for it. Make a athletics check.
Is there a sit check? I
guess it's the pin down action. So that would be athletics.
To be honest, Holt's way of waking people up is the same way that You should put people to sleep. It's just
Like
always bludgeoning to the face.
I'd like to sit on him with a 27, please.
I'm just going to squash him to death.
I just literally dropped to the floor as if
What's your athletics?
I have seven. It was the one thing I fixed on.
Okay.
Dang.
Have I killed him? I don't want to kill him.
Takes 5 points of bludgeoning damage.
And I just sit there, and I sort of usher them to go.
All right, I'm going to say that you have enough time for Anastasia for you to help Hathington through the little gap before, and the rat starts kind of squealing. Oi, what are you doing? What are you sitting on me for? Get off my head!
He's like, shh. He's just putting his hand over his mouth.
I'm going to get you to make a stealth check for me.
Oh my god.
And we're going to see if any of these others wake up.
They're gonna wake up. I have one.
Oh no. I don't think it's actually possible for them to fail that. They all have at least 2 dice, and if it meets, it beats. So, as you're desperately trying to silence this rat who you are sitting on currently, you see the other critters in this tent starting to come around. There are 2 others, a weasel and a stoat, and they kind of blink their eyes away as they rise to their haunches, saying, "Oi, grub face, what's what in the forest's going on?"
He's just having a nightmare. Like, aren't you, mate?
Just gonna roll some awareness checks for them.
Oh, no.
They both look at you, look to the pole in the center of the tent, and then back to you. Hi, where's the prisoner? And as soon as that call goes up, the squirrel kind of bursts in through the tent flap, goes, "What in dark forest is going on? He was right there. I didn't see anyone leave." And then he slowly kind of looks at you, Holt. "What happened? Where was the prisoner when you came in? Why are you sitting on that rat?"
I came in here to check where the prisoner was, and these lazy louts were asleep.
Roll a persuasion check for me.
Damn it. Oh no, I have the extra dice. Come on, Hope. Oh.
As you say this, the squirrel looks confused. Because, all right, well, somehow this flipping hare has managed to escape. He's cut his bonds loose by the looks of it, and could be anywhere in the camp. You lot, get up. You're not sleeping anymore. Get off your butts and get out there. Get the alarm out. The rest of the camp. Wake everyone up. We need to find out where this hare has got to.
Wait, we've got a problem here. And Holt sort of doesn't quite stand up. He's like, "You said his bonds were cut. You're the only ones with blades here. There's a traitor among us."
They all look at each other.
And he's like, "Look, I mean," and he just gestures to his staff. He's like, "I only wield the staff, but you lot."
The rat kind of puts up a paw, like, as best as it can underneath your bottom. Just, "I've only got a short bow, so it wasn't me."
He's like, "Okay, well, I need you to help me figure out who it was. As your superior, I need you to help me."
All right.
Holt is like freaking out.
Meanwhile, the rest of you are just out the back of this tent. You've heard everything that happened on the inside. Captain Preeter looks pointedly at Asher and goes, "Well, what now?"
That's an excellent question. I can't leave the altar behind.
Definitely not.
No. Captain, you can take your injured friend here and get to safety. we've got to make sure that Holt gets out of this in one piece, which...
It's very unlikely, let's be honest.
Well,
it is.
Here's the problem. If you are who it is supposed you are, then I definitely cannot leave you here. So I'm afraid you're stuck with me for now. And if that means I can help you out of this scrape, then so be it. Now, are we going to silence those creatures before they awake the entire camp, or are we going to leave now?
Let's put some creatures to sleep. Does your herd friend need a weapon? I happen to have an extra one if he does.
I don't think Hathington is in any state to fight. So I will mostly be making sure that... I tell you what, if you can give me your mole friend, I will ensure that neither of the non-combatants receive any damage during this fight.
That sounds fair. And he hands over Gruber. Just a little kiss. So good, mole. Sleep tight.
All right. And you see the captain draws her blade once more and kind of stands guard over the two.
Okay, let's try to do this quickly and quietly.
All right. So meanwhile, inside the tent, the squirrel is kind of twirling the saber and says, "Look, it could have been me because I've been outside this whole time. So it's got to be one of you two because that ferret only just arrived. So I know the ferret's good. Ferret's my mate. One of you two, Weasel, and I'm looking at you as well. That's dope. Better own up to what you did. Either way, you're going to be punished, but probably hurt less if you come clean."
And Holt sort of gives the squirrel winks, like, "Thanks, mate." But yeah, sort of looks over at this like ferret in this stoat, like, which one of you was it then?
And just as you ask this, Asher, are you coming through the tent?
I think Asher's going to circle around to the front entrance and come in behind the squirrel.
And I'm going to come in through the hole that I've made.
All right, so just as this question is posed to the stoat and the weasel, they both kind of, their ears both perk up and they goes, "Oh, wait, no, but behind you." And Asher, you can get one surprise turn on this squirrel you've just loomed up behind as your shadow falls over this creature.
Yeah, I think he's going to go ahead and try to drive his axe into the unsuspecting squirrel.
All right, making a fighting check for me, please. Oh, I get my tables up.
Okay, I'll stick with 20.
Okay, that's an excellent roll. Let me just let you know what this guy's defense is. All right, so with the 20, you definitely beat his combat defense. So with the axe, you deal damage equal to your athletics, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That is 5.
Okay, so you slash down with this axe, and the squirrel is wearing this very simple looking, again, armor crafted from the same sort of hide as the kind of the fish-like scales. However, the axe still manages to sink through and bites into the flesh of the squirrel as his head whips around and says, "We've been set up, lads! Attack!" And Anastasia, you may also have a surprise round before we roll initiative.
Wonderful. I'm going to sneak in behind one of them and smack it.
All right, the nearest one to you is probably the weasel.
Right on the bottom.
Right on the butt.
So, there's, I think you +1 bonus there. So
yeah. Oh, so your damage isn't a roll. You was rolling that. Okay, so that's a total of 13. That also beats its combat defense by a good margin. So you will be dealing damage equal to you're attacking with the sword?
Yes, my new cutlass.
Yes, is that athletics?
I don't know. I put damage 4. I wrote.
Then what is your athletics normally? 3. So in that case, it must be athletics plus 1 weapon, which is fine. So you slash at it with your blade. Unfortunately, this weasel's wearing slightly thicker armor. It's kind of like studded leather. And your blade kind of sinks in, but doesn't quite get a proper bite into it. However, it looks around and goes, "Oh, there's more of them multiplying."
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
And with that, I would like everyone to roll initiative as I just write a few things down, and then I'll tell you about our battlefield.
Remind me about initiative again.
Your initiative is an agility check from each of you, please.
I'm going to write that down so I don't ask next time. It was agility.
So the rat already took a load of damage from the bottom of Holt.
So Asher has disadvantage on all agility, so his is a 7.
Also, I realized I was on foot. I was incorrect. When you made your surprise attack, you got such a good roll that you actually would have done. You would have done double damage with your hit. So actually, the squirrel is no more, as your axe sunk into its back and must have severed the spine because it just goes limp in front of you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Asher this time is going to resist an axe pun. No promises next time.
I'm gonna roll some initiative for these bad guys. Oops, let's learn how to roll. Alright, so best top initiative, I believe, is Anastasia with 12.
Indeed.
Next up is the Stoked with 11. Then, by the looks of it, the Weasel with 10. Let's roll up a bit. Okay, so then the rat with 6, and then Asher with 7, and then Holt. Sorry, Asher with. Oh no, Asher's above the rat. Sorry, and then Holt with 4.
Yeah.
I love your roll so much tonight.
Oh my god, I rolled 2 dice.
Right up, first up, it is Anastasia. So you have this rat right in front of you. So just a quick reminder, with the A Song of Ice and Fire system, first we're going to have a quick we have a rundown of the battleground. So you have a large, about 5-meter diameter bell tent that you're all kind of crammed inside. Fighting quarters are close, so you're going to struggle with ranged weapons. They're going to have a -1 penalty to the end result of the roll, because it's a big tent pole. There's stuff everywhere. It's hard to get a good footing. Other than that, there are some sleeping kind of very rough, soiled-looking blankets around. You can see a torch that has been put out. Other than that, there's not a whole lot in here. There's also, the broken ropes that were tying the hare's paws together in the center of this space. So that's a quick rundown of the battlefield. Anastasia, you have the first turn. It is a lesser action to attack, and that means that you can squeeze 2 attacks into a round if you don't move or do anything else.
I say, you, Weasel.
Eh?
On guard!
All right. Make your first attack for me. 9. Okay. So that's actually a 12. Let me just check my crib sheet.
I have the short blade bonus.
Oh yes, you do, don't you? Okay, so the this weasel, yes, you are going to beat that combat defense. Is it going to be by enough? So that's a total of 12. Combat defense is 7, so yes, you beat it by just enough to do double damage. So as you usually do 4, you do 8. It has, again, this studded armor is going to soak 4 points of damage, but it's still going to take 4 points as you get a proper good slash in with your blade this time. What would you like to do again? Go for another attack. Yeah, roll me another attack.
Oh no, I pressed 3C6. I did it again. So it's the 11 and
Another
the
12. Okay, so this is going to do the same same damage as last time. You pull out your blade and then go for another swing, and this time you slice into the midriff of the weasel as it kind of gasps in pain. It's still standing, but it has been badly wounded.
That'll teach you to be on the wrong side.
The stoat next scrambles to its feet. That's going to count as one of its lesser actions, obviously, because it was getting itself off the ground. Has another one of these cutlasses, similar issue as the one that you stole from the one that you slew, Anastasia. And it looks around, sees the badger, and instantly seems to think that's probably the biggest threat, and it's trapped in this tent as far as it can tell. So it is going to run up and make an attack on Asher. So stoked. Cool. So this stoat, it doesn't seem to be incredibly adept with the blade that it wields, and you see that this stoat also has a bow at its back. So that is actually that's only a 9. Does 9 beat your combat defense, Asher?
It does not.
So as it swings its cutlass at you, either you kind of bat it away with one of your enormous badger paws, or it just kind of misses you completely. But it goes wide and does not bite into you. Next up, the weasel, who is currently engaged with Anastasia, bleeding heavily, just kind of goes, "Get away, crazy hedgehog!" And is going to have 2 swings at you with a little looking kind of short sword that it's carrying. And this one's a little bit better at what it does. Ooh, so that's going to be a 17 in total. To Anastasia.
Oh, sorry, that was... Oh, crap. I just knocked everything off my desk. Yes, I have combat defense 10.
Okay, so with a 17, luckily you've avoided triple damage, but it is going to do double. So you take 6 points as this blade slashes into you.
I'm not sure about this system. Is there a way for my character to give up his turn and aid to defense in some way, some fire at all?
My tough spines, if I may.
Yes, you may use your tough spines. In response to that, yes. You essentially have to say on your turn that until your next turn, you are assisting another character.
Got it. Okay. Good to know.
And it's the same if you want to take the dodge action. It's a bit like D&D. You say on your turn that I'm going to roll my agility, and that's going to replace my combat defense for this turn. Oh, wow. So you rolled... this was an endurance roll?
Yes. But ignore I did the doubles. I did
Okay. So swapping the 5 in for the 1, that's a total of 10. So that's pretty good. You are going to avoid 2 points of that damage. I do believe you did put on some chainmail last session.
No, I didn't. I gave it to...
Oh, you didn't.
It
Okay.
Match my outfit.
That makes sense. In that case, you take 4
Couldn't
points.
get it open my spine.
That's true.
So I take 6.
You take 4 because you've minimized 2 of those points with your spiny spines. However, it is now the rat's turn. The rat is still underneath, it's still under Holt's bottom. So you're going to make contested athletics tests as the rat desperately tries to free itself.
Good luck, rat.
Doesn't usually go well for anyone contesting Holt's athletics. Nope.
I still rolled really badly though.
Yeah.
Considering.
The rat kind of scrabbles and you see his claws rake through the dirt. It's like, get off me, you stinking river dog! But is not able to shift you. And that's the end of his turn because it can't do anything. Asher, you have a stoat that's trying its best to hit you. And you have a weasel that just got a nasty hit on your companion.
Yeah, I think I'll attack the stoat that attacked me, but I will address the creature that's beneath Holt. He's a weasel. Clearly.
Ferret.
That's what I meant.
Roll a fighting check for me, Asher.
Okay. And
Okay. So we're going to swap in the 4 for that one. Meaning that that's 21, which is a crazy hit, and this is on Stoat. Stoat's combat defense is 10, so you're still going to do... You're going to triple damage.
Okay.
So with your battle axe, as you sweep into this creature, how much damage would you normally do with a battle axe?
5, so that will be 15 points.
15, okay, and it only gets to soak one of those points with the rudimentary armor that it's wearing. So you smack the Stoat with this axe, and the Stoat falls dead to the ground. You still have one more lesser action. You can use that to move, to kind of interact with an object. You can't move and attack with a lesser action.
Okay. So, reminder to lay the battlefield. Lady Anastasia took care of her enemy.
No, he's still just about clinging on.
Okay, so Holt still has a life.
Yeah, the rat and the weasel are the only ones left.
Okay, and a bell tent. That is, so it has a central pole, and then all of, like the ropes holding it up are on the outside, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go over to Holt then, and I'll just finish my turn next to him.
All right. Next up is actually Holt's turn.
Right, so as he's sat there, question, how close is the Stoat? Like, is it within?
The Stoat's the one that's down. The weasel is the one that's engaged with Anastasia. So you are probably not quite within kind of melee. Actually, no, you've got a staff which will reach. So yes, you can make a melee attack with your staff. I'm gonna say you're gonna get a -1 penalty to the overall result because you're sitting down. If that makes sense.
I was gonna say, does standing up take an action?
Standing up takes a lesser action. So
Okay.
it's kind of like you stand up and you take a swing. So you couldn't then drop back down again before the rat has a chance to get out.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just scared about him running off. Okay, no, he'll stay sat down on this rat and pull out his staff and just try and swing it and just...
All right, make a fighting check for me, and then we'll just -1 from the end result.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty great. And though that's going to just be 15, which is still absolutely enough to hit the weasel, whose combat defense is 7. So you're going to do double damage. What would the staff usually do?
It's straight up athletics, so 7.
Ooh, okay, so that's 14. It soaks 4. However, that's not going to save it. As you kind of sweep with your staff, and you knock the feet out from underneath this weasel, who falls backwards, smacks the back of its head on the really solid tent pole, and just kind of lolls over. Seems to be completely limp. So we're just left with the rat underneath Holt. And Anastasia, it is your turn.
I'd like to take the butt of my sword and donk him on the head.
Okay, I'm gonna say he is restrained, so you get an extra dice for your fighting check.
Okay. Do I do 4 and then a bonus one?
Yeah.
Or I do...
Okay, so 12. Yeah, this little rat is very much restrained, so this is going to be double damage again.
Okay. So that's 4. Oh, so that's an 8.
An 8, soak 3, but that's still enough as you bonk the rat right in between the eyes, and it just falls unconscious. And you are out of initiative.
Ooh. Well, I think that went quite well, considering.
Holt sort of gets to his feet. He's like, I thought I made a good ferret.
It's my mistake. I apologize. You did an amazing job.
And he sort of
Up
does
until-
almost like a little curtsy. which is very awkward.
Yes. Very surprised. You performed admirably and bravo.
Thanks.
So, did we kill everybody, or is someone unconscious?
The rat is currently unconscious.
So, literally every engagement we've been in, we have left a rat alive.
Tie him to the pole.
Yes, I'm going to start tying him to the pole.
All right, yeah, that's easy enough for you. You drag the rat over, put his paws behind the pole, and tie them up.
I'd like to stuff something in his mouth as well, so he can't scream.
Good idea, yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Is there? I know there's no armor that would probably fit Asher among this group, but are there? Well, first of all, he's going to take the sword, which he figures probably belongs to the hair, off of the squirrel.
Yes.
Are there any other weapons that might be more suitable than the shoddy axe that he has?
Between the creatures you have knocked out / killed, there is one very fine-looking silver saber, which is the one of hair design. There are 2 short bows, each with quivers of about 6 arrows each. There are the stoat and the weasel both also carried cutlasses as well, which are about the same type as the one that Lady Anastasia has liberated from the rat that she bought.
I think, Asher's going to take at least one of the cutlasses. He's going to grab the finer sword as well. And Holt, did you want a cutlass as well? Or did you at least want some of the arrows?
He sort of walks around, he'll pick up the arrows. I'm good, thanks. And because he's not he doesn't trust himself with something that sharp. So he's going around just scooping up all of the arrows and putting them in his quiver.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're collecting all the arrows.
Are there any
Anybody want any armor?
Yeah, so in terms of armor, you see that one of them is wearing kind of tough-looking leather armor, and there's another one wearing this kind of leather style, and then there's also some studded, mixed kind of leather and steel, which is quite a bit tougher.
Well, if I can have something fit me, then I...
You think that the armor the rat is wearing is probably more the shape, because obviously stoats and weasels have these very long bodies.
Yeah.
And
for my spikes.
yes, the rat was quite round, so you think that it would probably just about go over your spikes, and if you after a few days, you could probably get the spikes to kind of poke through a bit. So the rat was wearing thick leather, I believe. Yeah, hard leather armor. So that's going to be armor rating of 3. So you soak 3 damage, but it reduces your combat defense by 2.
Okay, -2. Okay. Did we heal up over? Do you heal up oversleeping from the last? Wondering how injured I might be.
So you don't heal when you sleep. Essentially, every time you sleep, when you wake up, you can make a new medical check to try and get back health. So you could do that now if you would like to.
Yes.
Take a moment. Okay, so roll either a healing or an endurance check for me. Someone can help her if they would like to.
Yes, I would like to.
Okay, so you can add 1 to the total of her roll. That's very good, actually. You can heal 3 hit points with that.
Anyone else? Was it just me that got hit?
I'm good.
Unfortunately, I think so.
Okay. Well, maybe it will be a bit more difficult now that I have this leather thing, which I'm sure I can make look nice.
Yeah, you don't look particularly ladylike right now, but you feel a little bit tougher. Kind of trade-off.
Definitely intimidating.
I'll embroider some flowers on it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, you bet that you could do one bang-up job on this and make it look both elegant and tough.
Yes, that will be my new hobby.
Awesome. So you are left in this tent. And you are aware that even though none of them obviously got out to raise the alarm, there was quite a lot of sounds came from this tent. No one seems to have come to investigate just yet, but you don't know if anyone will.
Are there any blankets?
Yes, there are 3 very dirty-looking blankets. They're not very pleasant.
I would like to roll the bodies and then cover them in the blankets. So they look like they're sleeping.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that.
There we go. And I say we run out the back.
Holt sort of looks. It's like, and he sort of looks down to make sure he still looks like a ferret. He's like, I'll go out the way I came. So if we need any more distraction, I'm there.
Okay.
And
All right.
sort of gives you a bit of a grin and a thumbs up and starts moseying his way out the tent.
It's
Okay.
probably for the best. I mean, he is likely going to be noticed.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're gonna sneak out the back. Is the captain still waiting for us?
Yes, the captain kind of watches you come through and says, I heard you dispatching the foe beasts very efficiently in there. I must say I was rather impressed. What?
What indeed?
All in a day's work.
Okay, so what do you do now?
Captain, is there a quick and efficient egress, or shall we just retrace our steps?
Well, I would suggest that until an alarm is raised, we try not to draw attention to ourselves.
Fair.
All right, so as you start to try and sneak out of the camp, I would like you to make stealth checks, but also to try and determine you're going in the right direction. Either make kind of a tracking check or an awareness check, because you're kind of in the flank of this massive horde, and it just go. You can just see tents for far around right here.
Is that me as well? Sorry, or is
yes, if you'd like to make an awareness check.
okay.
This will be more as well to keep your companions, keep tabs on them, so that if you fail your awareness check to see where you're going, you can follow them.
Mm-hmm.
So that first roll is a 16. That's my awareness. And then let's do stealth.
But stealth 11, awareness 14.
Awareness 16, stealth 6.
Okay, so you start to make your way through the camp, and you're trying to be as quiet as you were when you came through in the first place. Captain Frita is kind of supporting Huffington. She has kind of given Gruber back to you to carry Asher, because carrying both beasts would be quite a bit, especially because hares are big creatures. Whilst they're not as tall as otters, they have the same kind of their kind of general shape is comparable. They're nowhere near as big as badgers, of course, but they're still not the smallest. They're still not like hedgehogs or mice or moles. So making your way through the camp, and Anastasia, you flit between shadows like a wraith. You are incredibly sneaky. You pull your hood of your cloak up, and you just kind of glide between tents. And you kind of have to admire her. She, for a lady of means, is very good at this whole roguish activity, Asher. Asher, you're struggling a little bit more to hide in shadows. Dawn is nearly upon you. And so the shadows are, whilst the overall darkness is kind of getting brighter and brighter, the shadows, or you have to kind of jump between them, almost like little islands of darkness. And so it's a little bit harder going than it was before. Holt.
To be fair, I think he's carrying 6 weapons and a mole now.
Yeah,
so,
you are a bit of a walking armory, so there's a bit of clanking going on as well. Holt, with your awareness, you can definitely see what they're up to. Partially because you know they're there, that makes it easier for you to spot them. But you can hear the clanking of your companion. And as you're passing a tent, you see beasts starting to stir around you. They're just starting, a few of them, and it only seems to be in this area, a few beasts are waking up. And a large kind of sea rat kind of sits up groggily nearby as you're walking past and goes, "Yeah, what was all that commotion over there? I swear I heard something."
What commotion?
I heard a big clattering and there was shouts. And I think I heard some kind of squealing. It sounded a bit like God knows, actually. He squeals a lot. You've come from over there. What was going on?
I don't know. I just woke up, mate. Same as you.
Roll persuasion check. So that's 3 dice as usual.
Okay. Oh God.
Woo. All right. It's far too early for beasts like us to be awake anyway. It's just
It's fine. I heard some people talking about getting an extra hour because we're marching along.
Oh, I forgot about that. A warbeer running us to the bone. Oh, all right. Well, good luck to you, whatever you're doing up. Try and throw us some victuals if you're going to get some, right?
I will do. I've got to go and check some patrol stuff because, shift work.
He kind of nods and settles down. He's not... You see he's kind of going back to sleep, but he also pokes at the embers of their kind of little fire that's part of their group, trying to coax it back into some life, because it's quite cold. It definitely feels like autumn's on its way. Now the mornings are starting to feel pretty crisp. But you seem just about to get away with it as you pass by. And you're now approaching what you're pretty sure is the edge of the camp at this point. And you're starting to feel like, yeah, you're doing pretty well. You're nearly right at the edge. And just as you can start to see the mists of the swamp and that nice thick tree cover ahead of you, there is a sound which just reverberates through the entire camp and instantly puts all of you on alert. And it is a low, drawn-out horn blast. And as it trails off, there is straight away you see eyes opening blearily. You hear far off a rough voice shouting. Roll an awareness check for me, everyone, just to see if you can hear what's being said. Okay, so 16. Wow. Holt, you try, but you can't quite work it out. I think you might maybe have some swamp mud in your ears. Can't quite hear it. However, Asha and Anastasia, perhaps because you're in this heightened sense of awareness as you're trying to remain hidden. And thankfully, this horn blast came at the exact same time that a particularly loud clank came from the various weapons that Asher is carrying. You hear this gruff voice shout from a little way off. It must be maybe a captain of this particular arm of the camp shout out, "All right, you awful lot. Up on your tails. We're moving out in 10. I want all these tents packed up. We're going into Mossflower Wood, so we're going to need to be quiet. We're going to need to be quick. Keep your eyes out for the lizard folk and the toads, because if you fall down and get dragged away, we're not coming back for you." And almost instantly, you can all see creatures stirring and eyes opening, and the clank of stoves as people are starting to try and squeeze in a bit of breakfast. It's going to be a little bit harder for the last leg as you try to leave the camp. And indeed, Asher, you're next to the captain, and you see instantly she looks concerned. But they're marching into Mossflower. That's not what we believed. We thought they were coming to Salamanderstrand. Something's... Well, this doesn't seem right. We're going to have to let the lady know. And she seems very concerned with this.
I already know. I also heard them.
She just looks at you, confused for a moment.
That's all and well and good. To let the lady know, not you, Anastasia, we have to get out of here first. So,
Aye.
priorities, step 1.
Keep low, move fast. And I need everyone to make a final stealth check for me as you try to get out of this camp.
Is that me as well? Or...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
I keep looking at my stealth score as if it's somehow going to like increase when I'm not looking at it. Nope.
I'm proud of that too.
All right. You're almost the outskirts of this camp. There's just a few more tents between you guys and freedom. Holt, you are, you're just ambling your way through. It's the most natural thing in the world. And you get so far to pass by the two watchstoats who are rubbing their eyes a bit, looking a bit unhappy about having to take camp down and immediately start moving. They kind of spot you go, oh, what, are you leaving again already? You're not waiting for the rest of the Ord?
I got to do another route round, mate.
Oh, all right. Well, in that case, I guess I hope to see you later. Come by our campfire. We're gonna try and get ourselves some dove eggs today. Gonna have a bit of a slap up dinner when we finally make camp again.
Sounds great, mate. I'm gonna go and put a word in for you right now.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then just for us, you see them kind of chuckling to us like, oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna go up in our Rex. We're gonna be eating with the big wigs. And then one of them stops and goes, hold on. Wait, what's that? That tent's moving. And he points, and you see the very broad, cloaked back of Asher just sidling past towards the edge of camp. Asher, you hear yourself getting called out.
You're having a nightmare.
The stoat looks at you, looks at this huge mound that suddenly spoke, goes, huh, what? No, something's wrong here. And he's going to make an awareness check.
Halt! Wake him up!
Okay.
Do I witness the
Yeah, you just walked past the these two guards when you hear one of them kind of point, and you can see where he's pointing. You can see he's pointing at Asher, and you can see that they've both twigged that this is a creature trying not to be spotted, and a big one. Just as he calls out, there's a bleeding badger in a tent trying to get out of the camp.
I sort of stand in front of them, just quickly go, what? Where? Just sort of look in the direction. I can't see anything.
And as you're trying to make a persuasion check just to see just how well your damage control works.
And is it 3+1 because of the dice?
2+1 because your normal persuasion's 2, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So it's 3 dice.
So it's 3.
Yeah.
Hang on, let's type that properly.
Okay, so the stoat that you were originally talking to is like, but it's all kinds of wrong. A tent shouldn't be moving. There's something definitely under there. I swear I saw a badger. But the other stoat says, you're bleeding nuts, mate. That's a badger. And he starts sprinting into the camp, shouting, oi, you lot, there's a badger trying to leave the camp. And he seems as confused about it as his companion was, as he still carries on shouting. And you see heads poking out of tents. You see people starting to wake up and say, a badger? Do you see a badger in the camp? And then a few people start to look around and you hear a voice of, oh my God, he's right. What do you guys do?
How close are we to the exit? Is this in any way?
You literally have 1 or 2 tents between you and the swamp.
Okay. I think Asher is going to run towards the exit, and while he's doing that, kind of running behind the tents, he's going to have his battle axe out, and he's going to try to sever several of the ropes holding the tents up in an attempt to collapse them on his way.
So firstly, everyone who's going to run needs to make an athletics check for me. Captain Frita seems to agree with this line of action. Says, right, cut and run, the old cut and run routine. Right, let's do this. And she is kind of hitched Hathington up on her back in the piggyback, and stretching these very long, powerful-looking legs as she gets ready to run. So 10 for athletics. Wow, Holt is on the dot. What about Anastasia?
I wrote it.
Actually, for me, that's what is that? That's 22 for athletics.
Oh, right. Sorry, because those were extras.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry.
All right. So you dash through this camp, and you are able to sweep that battle axe through several guy ropes, and you see tents starting to collapse in front of you. Anastasia, you're not quite as fast off the mark as Asher. However, because he's kind of pausing to break down these tents, you're just about able to keep up with him. Holt, you dash off like lightning. You drop down to all fours and you just zoom your way past the last tents and out of the camp. And now the enemy has had time to collect itself as you hear more shouts going up from across the camp saying, "Oi, there's intruders! People are trying to escape the camp! That's not fair, that's an otter!" And then from a little further back you hear another shout go up saying, "But the prisoner's missing! Someone's taken the prisoner!" And this kind of cacophony starts kicking off and going off all over the camp. And as you just about reach the tree line, I need to make a few rolls. I assume, Asher, a 6 does not beat your combat defense?
It does not.
You see an arrow just whiz past your ear and it embeds itself into the nearest tree. And a 13. Bear in mind, Holt, you actually have an increased combat defense because you've made it to the tree line, so you have a little bit of cover. So you can add 2 to your combat defense. Does a 13 beat it?
I'm wearing the bad armor, so that does.
Okay, so this is just going to do normal damage. You are going to take 3 points of damage as you feel an arrow sink into your side.
Yeah, he sort of cries out and tries to keep running with it, almost at like a wonky angle, because he sort of tries to recoil away from it.
Thankfully, it's not in deep enough to impede your ability to run, so you're still kind of able to carry on without having to take any penalties. However, you are now properly running through the trees, and you can hear creatures starting to put on weapons. You can hear, admittedly with a slow start because they'd only just woken up, whilst the camp is breaking, a small section of the beasts have been rallied to chase after you. So you've made it into the trees. Captain Frita moves to your front and says, "Follow me, I know the quickest route back to the mountain. Keep close, do not fall behind." And she shoots off into the woods. Now, she is very fast. I mean, you're all aware of the athleticism of hares, especially their penchant for being great sprinters and long-distance runners with their incredible back legs. But she is very fast. Could everyone please make athletics checks for me again? Okay, so once again, Holt, maybe spurred on by the pain in your side, you manage to keep up with her with ease. She's very fast, but you are bigger than her, and that gives length to your stride as you're just loping after her on all fours. The staff kind of strapped to your back at this point. Similarly, Asher, you're not quite as fast as Holt, but you are able to kind of thunder along behind, and you're not subtle when you're running. You are a huge, heavy badger, and the ground just kind of shudders under your paws. Anastasia is struggling the most out of the group. She's not by any means doing badly, but she just has slightly shorter legs than the rest of you as she's trying her best to keep up behind you. But she is a little way behind the rest of you. However, the horde beasts do not seem to be able to make any ground on you as they haven't caught up at all. As we go into a new round, everyone make another check for me. And I will do the same. As you are being chased through the swamps, and you realize that as you carry on through the swamps, the ground is becoming slightly less wet and mushy, and as you run, there are more kind of rocks and less trees dotting your path, and you realize the area is becoming far more open, and you can feel a sea breeze on your face, which is a blessing after the oppressive heat and humidity of the swamps.
Is there a way, if I roll, to grab Anastasia as I run? I sort of skip.
So what
I was going to say
is if you what you can do rather than roll, you can take the same roll as Anastasia, and essentially it means you wait for her to catch up, then grab her and carry on.
Yeah, I'll do that instead. Holt sort of comes to a skidding halt and sort of pauses and turns back to look at Anastasia and is like beckoning for her and then pointing at his back.
This is undignified, but okay.
And as you kind of, I assume you're holding her like piggyback style, you do your best to avoid the spines, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, but thankfully most of the spines aren't the bits that you're trying to hold onto as you carry on. And with this slight kind of pause, you hear the shouts and cries and clamors of the foe behind you starting to catch up on your little group. You feel that if they would manage to catch up much more, you might be within range of arrows and bolts once more. But both Asher and I'm going to roll for Frita.
Asher's going to turn around to hold. Do you have the lady?
It's just like, yeah, I got it.
I still have Gruber.
Yeah. I love that you're like, there he is. Go away again.
One more, like a tennis ball.
Yeah, just palming them all. Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, so you are able to carry Gruber, no problem. So as you continue to sprint your way through the woods, and the trees are thinning even more at this point, and as there is more space in front of you, you can see again the enormous looming silhouette of Salamanderstrom just jutting up into the sky, this lonely, extinct volcano. But its presence, Asher, you find seeing the mountain now far more clearly, it lends you a sense of confidence and strength. You know you can make it. Nothing can stop you getting back to that mountain. And I would like everyone to make a third athletics check for me.
Do I need to roll anything?
No, you will be using Holt's roll, but Holt, you'll get -1 dice for carrying Anastasia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. She'll just drop the 1.
It's the first time I've got 6s.
Even if I took a 6 off that, you're fine. I'm just going to roll for Frita. Frita will probably be fine. Ooh, just about. That was a really bad roll from her. You see that obviously Frita is carrying Haffington, and Haffington, whilst he's a bit smaller than her, is still a creature nearly the same weight as she is. And she very briefly stumbles, but manages to pick herself up and carries on. The rest of you, absolutely fine. You are very athletic beasts. You kind of catch her looking at you with a, she's impressed by your performance this evening. You can hear the foes behind you getting quieter. You're managing to put distance between you and them, and if you can just do that for a little bit longer, you'll probably lose them. So, one more athletics check from everyone, please. Oh, that's bad for me.
Would this at all apply to strength?
Not so much at the moment. Because it's not just strength. You're trying to keep an eye on your footing. You're carrying another creature as well.
Sure.
Frita's fine. Frita just rockets off into the distance. She is completely recovered from her little trip. The rest of you, Asha, you fall behind a little bit. However, it's still far too far for the enemies behind you to get a shot to properly try and hit you. In fact, you do see as an arrow, again, whizzes past your ear, it's way off, and they don't seem to be able to get an accurate range at all on you from where they are. And as you carry on running for a little bit longer, you make sure that you are out of distance of these guys before you feel that you probably have just about lost them. And as you do so, you see that Captain Frita stops a little way up and just puts her paw against one of these twisted olive trees and just takes a moment to breathe. And she looks pretty tired. She looks up and thinks, I was always more of a sprinter than a long-distance runner. And she kind of hoists up Happington, who was slipping down on her back a little bit.
I think the whole comes to a skidding stop, because after, when you run just too fast, and it's like you suddenly see everyone else stop. He probably puts his paws out in the dirt to try and just slow down, as he has gone back onto all fours at this point. But he does stop. Yeah, he does stop. And he's like, you all right, mate? Looking back at Anastasia.
I feel a little bit sick, if I'm honest.
It's right, get used to it. It's great. And sort of just doesn't wait for you to get off and just flops down onto the floor.
Yeah, and you guys are all pretty exhausted. In fact, could you all roll an endurance check for me? No, let's go back to the right box. That's pretty good. Okay, maybe, Holt, it was the stress of keeping up your incredible acting skills all night and well into the morning that's also tired you out, but you are absolutely exhausted. In fact, you are technically exhausted, so you will take a -1 penalty off of your future rolls until you're able to have a good night's rest.
Okay.
However, you're actually a little bit sick, Anastasia, but you didn't really have to run most of that, so you're feeling
nice rest.
Yeah, you're not too bad actually. Asha, must be that legendary badger strength, because you feel like you could run that again and be completely fine.
It hurt my hip a little bit, but I think I could do that again. He's going to reach down to Holt and kind of help him up, sling his arm over his shoulder, and
Oh, good. It's fine. Oh, good. Ooh, he's sort of looking up at the sky, just trying to catch his breath after just being so knackered.
Holt, thank you.
have to work on that lower body, Holt.
Okay, he sort of looks to Lady Anastasia and say, "You're welcome, Mom. If I can't carry your bags, I'll carry you. It's fine."
How many Samwise Gamgee of you?
Yeah, big Samwise energy, yeah.
Very Samwise.
And
Fireman's lift next time.
I don't you'd have to hold the spines then.
I'll hold her legs. Just over the back.
Oh, last night while I was sleeping, I had a weird dream, and what just happened sort of reminded me of it. It dreamt that I was running through the woods, and I wasn't running alone. I was running with you. I don't know if this was a premonition of what we just did, but it felt like...
I say I'm pretty sure we've done this twice now.
Anastasia, roll a will check for me.
Ooh.
You kind of strain at your memory to try and bring back those feelings that conjured up by that dream, and you're pretty sure that the woods you ran through in your dream was very different to this one. There was no mud on the ground. It wasn't swampy. There was none of that kind of scent of the sea on the air. It was definitely a vast, deciduous wood. You remember seeing oak trees all around you, and the floor was clean and dry, normal kind of forest floor, but it definitely wasn't here. But you were definitely running with Holt in the dream.
it's very strange. I don't remember you, but I felt like we were definitely friends. I wasn't running from you. I was running with you, and I think Asher may have been there, but he was separated from us, and we did not know where he was, and we're just running just then, and you picking me up reminded me of the dream. That I wasn't going to remark on it at all, because I assumed it was just flight of fancy. I've had a very stressful few days. But it reminded me that it's possible we've run in the woods before, which is strange because I'm a lady and I don't run in woods.
Well, you must have had a reason, like you did back there. I mean...
Yes. I feel like something was chasing us.
Do you know what?
No idea. It was dark, and we were running. Maybe for our lives.
And he sort of pauses and has to think. I had a dream too. I weren't running though. I was outside a wall and a gate. A real big stone wall. Sort of a reddish colour. And he sort of just pauses, almost closes his eyes for a moment as if he's reaching out to see if he can touch it again. He said, and there were others like me there, like me, otters. And we were stood outside the gate. I was a lot smaller though, or everyone was a lot taller. I'm not too sure which was which. They'd have to be pretty tall. And he starts rambling, he's like, they'd have to be pretty tall if they were. Anyway, they opened the gate. And there was an otter. I recognised his face, but his name, I don't know it. And they went in. And they left me. And the gate's closed.
You see that Frita is watching all of you very closely. One by one, she kind of looks over each of you and then finally looks at Asher. And what of you, Badger? Have you had any visions?
I'm not the kind that sees dreams as visions, but if you were to interpret that, and since we're all sharing, I did have a dream. There was this magnificent female badger in resplendent armor with a warhammer. We were in battle, about to be in battle. I remember being scared until I saw her. And then I knew that there wasn't any other option besides us winning. I don't know who she was. I don't know if it was a memory, a vision, a dream. But it felt right.
Frita nods slowly before she stands up again where she'd been leaning against the tree and looks out at the shadow of the mountain as it looms up ahead of you. But did you know that amongst all creatures, badgers are gifted with rare traits, some that make them terrible to behold in battle, some that give them insight, some even supposedly prophecy. So you understand that it is very curious that not just you have shown a affinity for this, but your companions. Now, I don't know whether what any of you saw was real, was a dream, or was past or future, but I do know that you must all come with me to Salamanderstrand. There is a lot that we must iron out. I think it would benefit all of you.
That's where we were headed anyway. You don't have to ask twice.
Excellent. Well, I know the quickest routes the patrols take. It's going to be, we're not going to get there before nightfall. So I suggest if we are all up for it, we keep moving. We make camp fairly early so that we are ready to head off before first light to the mountain. I know we've come a long way today, and you have all, insofar, impressed me a huge amount with your display of courage back at the camp. So for now, I trust you that you are good beasts. I trust that you at least are not villains of any capacity. So I will take you to the mountain, and I will vouch for you in front of all of my comrades and the Lady of the Mountain herself. But for now, I suggest you keep up. We find somewhere safe to make camp. And then in the morning, we will make the final journey to the mountain. Is this agreeable?
Yeah, I suppose so. I ain't got anywhere else to go.
Good. I understand that I do have a slightly ulterior motive. If the army behind us is indeed marching east to Mossflower Wood, then the lady must be informed. There are no armies in that direction, only peaceable creatures. And if they are planning to raid settlements, then the Long Patrol must do something about it. Anyway, please follow me. And she starts to make her way kind of down the hill. And you notice that the ground is kind of sloping downwards. Do you follow?
I think Holt rears up, suddenly remembers there's an arrow in his side. As he sort of sits up, it's just like, just sort of tries to either yank it out or at least snap it.
No. Leave it in.
Are you right back there?
Yeah. He suddenly stops, like he doesn't realize why these two are panicking. He's pulled an arrow out of himself before.
You've got a bally arrow in your leg.
It's not a big one.
Look, just stop. Just whatever you're doing, just stop and be still. You, Hedgehog, you said you had some healing training, yes?
Yes.
Right. Well, help me here, will you? And she starts trying to. She sinks down onto one of her knees and starts to to kind of look at the wound.
Right, really. I've been shot before.
I'm sorry. This is going to have to come out. If it doesn't, it's going to get infected, and then worst case scenario, you could lose that entire leg.
Okay, take it out.
Okay, right. The good news is, it hasn't sunk too deep. We should be able to get the arrow out without creating too much bleeding. Hedgehog, could you hold this for me? And please, as soon as I take out the arrow, put pressure on the wound, okay?
Yes.
Wait, what? Like he sort of like.
And before you can really do anything, she is going to attempt to remove the arrow and patch you up with the help of Anastasia. Oh, wow. Okay, and that's a total 15 with Anastasia's help. So you are going to get back 3 hit points, and the arrow is safely removed.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, when it sort of comes out, he's like, ow, you could have warned me a bit better.
We find in the barracks it's much better to not warn someone when you're about to pull an arrow out, because sometimes it can actually make the pain a lot worse if they're anticipating it.
I was anticipating it the entire time.
Well, that's your problem. Now, if we could please make haste, we want to get to the mountain by the end of tomorrow. And she turns and starts retracing her steps.
Well, next time you have to leave it in. Don't, if you ever... It makes it worse. Don't pull it out.
I've been shot before. It's okay. It's just in an awkward place.
I'll stitch it up when we get some time.
Thanks. Shot myself in the foot once. That hurt for a long time.
That does not surprise me, Holt. Not in the slightest.
Not
Good
for
news,
years.
though. You got a memory back.
Oh my god. He just sort of pauses and if he looks down at his foot and there's a scar.
Yeah, you have.
The hair doesn't grow back because you had to.
Holt, roll a willpower check for me, just out of interest. Okay, you suddenly have, as Asher says this, you're like, yeah, how did that happen? And then you suddenly have this memory that rises to the top of your head, and you hear a voice that says, no, Holt, don't play with that! And then a twang, and then really bad pain in your foot.
Yeah, so he's like, ow, and leans down to rub it again.
But that's kind of all you get in that moment. Do you follow the captain?
Yeah, he does that, like that ghost limping where you feel like you've still got, he does that just for like the first few steps because he feels like he's been shot in the foot again, but it disappears very quickly.
All right, so as you make your way down the hill, the environment starts to change again. The wet marshes and swamplands start to fade behind you and instead give way to once again, these rolling sand dunes. And these dunes are massive. Once you're kind of in the bowl between two dunes, you can't see over the top of the next one. And there is this coarse coastal grass growing from these dunes, kind of whipping with the breeze as it pushes it out to sea. And the scent of the sea is far more present than it was before. You realize you're slightly walking in a northwesterly direction now. You went quite far east into the marsh to avoid the horde, but now you're heading back towards the ocean, the short amount. And as you're walking, it's been a long few days. You've covered a lot of ground. You've been involved in numerous fights. You've sprinted across swampland for some time. It's been a wearing journey. Could everyone please make another endurance check for me? Badges, man. Oh, for Holt.
You made your otter so strong, just no
It's because he's
stamina.
Genuinely soft, because he doesn't do anything. He's genuinely a big soft guy that looks intimidating.
Feels like a deadlift and then is out of commission for 5 days.
Yeah, like...
Anastasia, is the 13 yours from now? Awesome, okay. So you're making your way along. Again, Anastasia, you had a bit of a rest. You're doing all right. Asha, the legendary badge of strength is just propelling you forward without an issue. Holt, you've been through a lot. You took an arrow. You did complex social maneuvers. It's not fair. And you're so tired. You just want to sleep. So you are now 2 stages of exhaustion, which means you get -1 dice to any future pools that you roll. It's tough. And indeed, it continues to be tough until after nearly another 4 days of travel and you see the sun start to sink. Finally, Captain Frita looks around at the rest of you and says, right, this spot will do to make camp, I believe. We're close enough to the mountain that they would be mad to attack us here. And indeed, if they are heading east into Mossflower Wood, we should be safe. And you see that she is indicating a particular spot. Rather than sleeping on the sand in case it kind of the breeze kind of casts sand over you in the night, she's picked out like an outcrop of rocks where you've got a good vantage point from all directions. But it's not amazingly comfortable looking, but it is functional.
Holt, are you holding up?
As you say that, he just sort of flops down on these rocks and like lays on his back with his hands clasped on his chest. And he's like, I think we need a nap.
I'd like to take my cloak off and put it over Holt.
Oh, I also take off that chainmail, like, getting rid of that, and he throws it almost to the side as he winces and lays down. Takes the cloak and pulls it up. He's like, thank you, miss.
I'd like to try and stitch up the hole as well from the arrow while he lies down.
Yeah, you can try and close up the wound and keep it nice and clean. And as you're kind of setting about this, and you're kind of getting your camp ready, you hear a series of soft paw steps. And without even needing to make an awareness check, because you're in such a good area for kind of seeing what's approaching you, you see 2 more of the hare strike teams that Frita had organized is approaching. And you see the young hare that had kind of posed the suggestion that Asher might have been this badger that they were familiar with, you should see this youngster kind of approach the camp and salute smartly to Captain Frita. Said, we scoured our edge of the Horde's camp, Captain, but we didn't see any sign of. Oh, you got him. Oh, thank goodness for that. And you see she completely breaks ranks and dashes up to Haffington and gives him a big hug. And then she also kind of lightly doffs him on the head, like, you idiot, if you got hair for brains, if you go running off again, Mum will come after you, and she's much scarier than Captain Frita. And there's just like this playful kind of duration as hares kind of greet each other and kind of settle in. And then one of them comes up to you, Asher, and says, sorry, old mate, for being assumptive here, but I do believe you said before that you had some manner of scoff about you. And all of them now look at you.
He's going to reach into the Gruber knapsack, where I'm assuming not only are we keeping a mole, a battle axe, but also our food. Absolutely, what's ours is yours. And he'll kind of lay out the meager, but I think decent food that they both acquired before and during their visit with the moles.
And you hear, oh, is that blinking cucumber and mint cordial? You've got to be joking. And there's lots of kind of celebratory noises from the rest of the hares as almost as soon as you spread it out, the food is shared around. And by the time they are finished, there is nothing left of your rations at all. Frita doesn't seem surprised. In fact, Frita has one of the slightly hard pastries that you got from the hedgehogs that she's kind of thoughtfully munching on as well. Like, this is a top quality scoff, a good one. I am definitely pleased we brought you along.
Happy to help.
And you feel a little bit more secure now that you are surrounded by about 10 tough fighting hares. And they kind of seem to take care of camp. They have a routine where they sort out watches and they sort out fire and gathering extra kind of forage. What would the party like to do?
Like to sit down.
You have successfully sewn up the arrow wound and now you are able to take some rest.
I'd like to just spend some time stitching some pretty flowers onto my new leather armour.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Roll a craft check for me, just out of interest.
Plus my extra one for needlework.
Oof, wow. You, with a 20, it is sublime. You stitch almost a beautiful woodland meadow scene upon this leather armour, and it looks positively beautiful. You kind of bring it in a little bit, so it's a little bit more shape to your form, and your spines can now kind of protrude through it perfectly. And essentially, you have adapted this leather armor to fit you very well indeed. And a few of the hares actually look over and think, "God, did you do that? That's amazing. Can you do that to mine as well?" And they start kind of clamoring and admiring your work and being like, "What?" One kind of is about to slap you on the back, like, and then looks at the spines and goes, "Maybe not."
Yes, I'm starting a new fashion trend. I used to do it all the time at home, I'm sure. So yes, I allow you to copy me. That's fine. But it is a great form of flattery for me. Yes.
A few of the younger hares actually sit down with you and try and look at how you do kind of your work and say, "Oh, when we get back to Salamanderstone, I'm pretty sure my dad's got a sewing kit. Can you show me how to do what you've done there?"
I'm sure if we're not too busy with Asher things, then yes.
Well, that's blinking splendid. Thank you so much. And they seem genuinely like incredibly excited about doing something that's probably quite different to their normal routine. Asher, what are you up to?
I'd like to walk over to the two sibling hares, the one we rescued and the one that recognized me. And I'd like to walk up to the one we rescued. I'm sorry, it was
Haffington.
And I still have his sword and like to present that to him. And I think this was taken from you, but next time maybe keep a better grip.
You see, he kind of looks up at you, and one of his ears is kind of dangling a little bit limp down the side of his head, and the other one is poking up, and he still looks very rough, but the other hairs have kind of patched him up a bit, and he definitely looks better than he was when you found him. He says, oh, thanks a jolly lot, sir. I feel like such a fool for losing it and getting caught. But I give you my word, I didn't give away any secrets to Salamander Strun, no. I held firm to my loyalty to the Lady of the... Wait, who are you? You're not a Lady of the Mountain. I don't know any other badgers.
No, I'm pretty far from being a lady, but let's say I'm trying to figure that out for now. But no, don't worry about being captured. We all make mistakes, and the point is that we learn from them. Now, this is an odd question, and I'd like to actually address your sister here as well.
She salutes. Private Swiftpaw, sir!
Potentially unnecessary, I have no idea. You said you recognized me. What did you mean by that?
Well, and I'm gonna be jolly honest with you now, sir. When I was only a little kid, well, and as she starts to kind of talk, you see that Captain Frita has started kind of walking past on a bit of a patrol of the outside of this camp. And she says, Swiftpaw, can we save that for after we reach the mountain, please? We want to ensure that we can determine the true identity of this individual without him knowing any potential information about himself. If he is an imposter, we don't want to arm him with knowledge. Not, of course, you have won my trust most succinctly through your actions last night. So don't take this the wrong way, but we have to determine who you are fairly. And the best way to do that is to test what you know without inflating your current knowledge, so to speak. What?
I actually completely understand. I expressed to you that honesty is important. I appreciate your honesty now.
And I give you my word, Badger, that if we determine you are who we think you might be, then you will be armed with all the information you could possibly need, and we will tell you anything you need to know.
I think that's the fairest deal that I've had in as far as I can remember.
Excellent. Good to hear it, Watt. Get some rest now, you Swiftpaw. It's been a long one. And Huffington, you should definitely be resting right now. I don't want to see you awake when I come back around. And she continues her patrol. And by now it is quite late. A lot of the hares who aren't posted on watch are starting to bunk down in what seems to be these standard issue kind of bedrolls and supply packs that they have as kind of scouts in the long patrol. And you guys also have your bedrolls and your various accoutrements you were given by the hedgehogs. What would you all like to do, since you don't technically need to post a watch amongst the three of you if you do not want to?
Sleep, please.
Yeah, I think Asher's going to take one last, just arbitrary check at Holt, make sure that he's getting some rest and he's not going to...
Yeah, Holt's sort of been watching Lady Anastasia decorate, basically, her leather. He's been laying down fully, but he also just runs his closed hands over his tiny little, very old, tattered waistcoat that's very, very faded. And he's not too sure why, but he smiles when he does, until this badger comes over and he just quickly, hands back clasped on his chest with that cape, like pulls the cape back up. He's like, I'm gonna sleep, I swear.
That's all right. I'll watch the Groover tonight.
take shifts. Sort of.
Our little son Gruber.
Our child is now Gruber.
Gruber has 2 dads.
I mean, he's got to wake up at some point.
So yeah, Asher will bed down for the night.
All right. So finally, Holt, are you going to attempt to sleep as well after your incredibly long day?
I almost feel like his body won't give him an option, and he will just crash. Like I think he watches for a bit and doesn't realize how heavy his eyes are. Sort of has that one last look around the camp before it just completely closes his eyes and drifts off.
Okay, so starting with Anastasia. Once again, you have that same dream, the dream you had the night before, running desperately through this very beautiful, ancient-looking wood. And you see Holt running at your side, only you are both running for your lives. There is something chasing you, and you can't see it. You can never quite see what it is in this dream. And just like before, you feel the snag around your paw as you are hoisted suddenly upwards into the air, and you feel the whiplash on your neck as you are caught in this trap. And just as the dream is fading, you hear a very, very comforting voice that speaks to you. It's soft but incredibly strong and firm, and makes you feel secure, as if you have nothing to fear here, nothing at all, as this voice gently speaks to you, as it says, "Anastasia, it's time you came back to Mossflower." And then the dream continues to fade into darkness. Holt, you also have the same dream you had the night before. You see the very tall, very brawny otter as it kind of pats you on the head and ruffles your short but soft fur, and you see them leave through the gate and you watch them go. But this time the dream carries on a little bit. You feel this crushing sadness and longing in your heart, and you feel you really, really want to follow these otters. And you see it's not that they've gone into a place that you cannot follow. They have left a place that you cannot leave. And you run up to the gate and you bang on the gate and you cry that you want to follow, you want to go with them. But you can't. This gate is ancient and strong and holds firm against your very small little otter fists. And you cannot follow. And the dream fades into darkness. Asher, you do not so much dream as you slowly drift into unconsciousness. You are watching the mountain. You can see it. It's hard not to see from this place. And rather than dream, you just have this vision of the mountain that remains in your mind's eye all night until eventually the deep sleep takes you. And before all of you know it, it is already time to wake up and break camp. Captain Frita is particularly merciless with the sleepier amongst the hares, especially those that complain about breakfast. There's all of you, just get yourself together. Are you long patrol hares or not? You will receive proper breakfast once we are back at Salamanderstron, which, if you make haste, will be within the hour. As she kind of lightly slaps a few of them on the back of their tails with her baton to get them moving. How about the three of you? How are you feeling this morning?
Can I roll a medicine to see how I feel?
Yes, you can. If any of you want to try and heal a bit more damage, you can roll a medicine or endurance.
Not great.
So is that a total of
5?
Total of 5. Okay, you'll get back 1 hit point. Oh, are you still missing any health?
No, he's back up. to normal, but at the same time, I think he just aches. Like,
Yeah.
I think he rolls over. You know, you roll on something, you forget. So it's like, ow, ow.
Yeah, and you can't feel your arm, and it's weird.
It's like, oh, it's gone dead. Like, it's sort of sit up. Like, he's got some fur, like, stood on end where he's slept awkwardly and had a dream. And he's
And
like,
you do realise with a sinking feeling, you have no rations left because the hares pretty much ate everything last night. However, if it really is only another hour to Salamanderstron, you're confident that you hope he will be fed when you get there.
Oh, he'll move faster if it means he gets fed in an hour. So.
Yeah. Asher, how about you?
Asher's uninjured, but he is middle-aged and has been sleeping on the ground or in a swamp for several nights in a row. So he's trying to do his morning stretches, which he somehow still remembers from. It was the same stretches he did when he woke up on the sandy beach. So just stretching the back and left and right, and like everything's just, it's like, again, like popcorn. Just everything's cracking.
Soon enough, the time to break camp runs out, and Frita instructs you all fairly firmly to kind of join this rank, this platoon of hares as it makes its way towards Salamanderstron. Do you kind of fall in with the march?
I think so. We're trying to keep pace.
Yes, I can.
He sort of does like that trot, you know, where you can't keep quite in time.
Yeah.
He's sort of he's to the back because he's moving constantly.
And since they're on the way home, there's a pretty merry feeling. You succeeded. You rescued the captive. There's a lot of joking and excited murmurs about what breakfast is going to be and if there'll be a feast tonight to celebrate. And a lot of joking back and forth. And then even a bit of kind of hushed conversation talking about their new companions and how incredible they were to rescue their good friend. And you're all being spoken about as if you're kind of heroes at the moment, treated with a lot of respect and reverence. But within the hour, you are getting close to Salamanderstron. It seems even more immense up close, an impenetrable fortress of rock, surrounded by dunes and stone over which any approaching enemy would be easy to spot. Those of you with keen eyes notice tiny slits dotting the sides of the great mountain, through which you imagine archers would be stationed in times of war. Could you all make awareness checks for me?
His favourite thing.
You can't hit awareness checks.
Yes!
It's pretty good.
That's good for me.
14.
Okay. Right, so all of you will see that you spot kind of swathes of greenery up the sides of the mountain, which kind of stick out between this very greyish rocky stone site that you see. You see several points in the mountainside that have been leveled out, and you can see well-maintained gardens and small elevated fields supplying the mountain probably with food and supplies that are just very well maintained on slight slopes, but they're almost kind of the way rice paddies go up a hill. There are a few points on the mountain with these gardens and greenery areas. As you get closer still, you approach a steadily rising ramp carved into the stone of the mountain's base that leads towards an immense double door, constructed from thick hardwood reinforced with steel. As you draw closer, the doors start to open, shuddering with a deep creak that reverberates through each of you. By the time you have drawn level with them, you realize that each door is at least 4 times the height of Asher himself, but you have little time to marvel at this as you perceive what lies beyond. A full score of hares stand silently and lined up on each side of the entrance hall, illuminated by blazing torches that are bolted to the stone walls above, well fed and crackling merrily in the quiet. In the center of the room, and flanked by a pair of hares decorated in medals and with many a white hair between them, stands a huge figure. An enormous female badger, clad in dark blue robes trimmed with silver that shines like starlight, and a polished steel breastplate intricately engraved with boiling oceans near its base, and constellations of glimmering stars around the gorget and the pauldrons. Her face is old, the black stripes faded into a steely grey alongside the white. Her eyes, however, are dark and alert. Watching you with interest, she's a few inches taller than Asher, but clearly far older. In one paw, she holds a fearsome silver warhammer, forged in the shape of a star crashing to earth. The Lady of Salamanderstrom, protector of the Western Shore and leader of the Long Patrol. Lady Hilda Silverstripe. There is a pause before the immense badger lady puts her hammer down and takes a few steps forward. A hare scurries to take the hammer for her, but she ignores them, her eyes fixed on the four of you. Welcome, travellers, to the fortress of Salamanderstrom, and welcome back to you, my son. And with that, she pulls Asher into a tight embrace. And that is where we're going to end for tonight.
Oh, dang. I made the prince my bag boy.
Literally, Holt's looking at Anastasia like, what the hell? I love it. I love it.
Whoopsie.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I love this game so much.
Oh, I'm so happy you guys like
I
it.
love it. I get to play my good otter boy, and I love that there's a hedgehog and a badger, and I love it. Otherwise, please, everyone, check out all the links that are coming up in chat now. This includes our Discord, which is where please head over. Tell us your favorite bits, or what do you think is going on, because otherwise, check out all of our links. You can find YouTube and everything else over there. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm and also Mage Hand Press. You can find their links there, along with some other sponsors for some discounts and bits and bobs like that. Otherwise, I'm already excited for next week to find out what the hell is going on. So keep evoking emotions, everyone, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.